Reborn and India as a Magnate. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 276, The Wrong Target. The older bodyguard saw the golden light and thought he was dazzled. This cave was dug by a sloth bear. It was dark and damp and had several turns. It was impossible for the sun to directly reach the bottom of the cave, but where did the golden light come from? At this time, the sloth bear, whose feet were tied, hummed a few times from his throat. These hums scared the older bodyguard to death. This is in the cave. If this sloth bear wakes up, will he still be alive? He will not be fed to the beasts. So he shouted loudly to his companions, who were pulling the rope outside. You idiots, pull it out quickly. This sloth bear is about to wake up. If I'm eaten and become a ghost, I will not let you go. Come on, come on. Although there are more jokes in this sentence, everyone knows the seriousness of the situation. After all, the bear is a beast, and it is also a bear. People can't beat the beast, so they pulled the rope out hard, because there were several turns in the cave, and it would get stuck every time it turned. So the bodyguard at the bottom of the cave had to step back, while positioning the sloth bear to pull it out. It took a lot of effort to get the beast out of the cave, but the moment it came out, everyone felt incredible. Even Belsina wondered if he had seen it wrong. After circling around the strong sloth bear for several times, Belsina looked at the old butler with a smile and said, "After all the effort, we actually got it wrong. This is a male sloth bear, not our target. Our target is a female, and it is carrying a cub on its back. Do sloth bears live in a monogamous way?" The old housekeeper shook his head and smiled bitterly, saying, "Master, you are too fanciful. Sloth bears are solitary animals. Male and female sloth bears only meet during the mating season, and they will never live together for more than a week. How could they live in a cave? Did we get the wrong target? Where did the damn female sloth bear go?" At this time, the bodyguards didn't know whether to cry or laugh. After all the effort, they actually found a male sloth bear, and it was very big, with thick hair and strong limbs. It was 1/3 bigger than the troublesome female sloth bear. I didn't expect that. After running in the mountains for 2 or 3 days, they actually found the wrong target. The two bodyguards who were looking for the trace of the sloth bear looked at each other, secretly saw the disappointment in each other's eyes, and came to Belsina's side shyly, rubbing their hands, and saying very embarrassedly, "Old master, I'm really sorry, I got the wrong target. I didn't expect to track a male sloth bear." The two felt that, because of their own reasons, these companions, especially the master, wandered around in the mountains for several days and found the wrong target. It was really a bit embarrassing and ashamed. Camping in these tropical rainforests for a day was not fun. It was too uncomfortable, and there were mosquitoes and ants everywhere. Now there are still several big red spots on the white skin of the master, which were caused by mosquito bites. After suffering so much, he actually found the wrong target. How can he explain to the two injured workers at home? Where can the master put his face? He swore to the workers that he would catch the murderer, but he didn't expect that. After wandering around in the mountains for several days, he found a male sloth bear. This target was too far away. It was a world of difference. Seeing the two bodyguards fighting each other, he was also very distressed. He smiled slightly, patted the shoulders of the two people and sighed. "It's not your fault. Tracking a sloth bear by relying on footprints and hair is already a very good tracking experience. Ordinary hunters can't compare with you. After all, sloth bears look the same. There is no trace of female sloth bears. It's good to find the basketball just by relying on the traces. Although you found the wrong target, you didn't lose your goal. It's just that the target is wrong. Don't take it to heart. Keep up the good work and find the female egg-shaped one that caused the trouble. We want it." Before he finished speaking, the old Jamal housekeeper next to him was carefully observing the sloth bear, who fell to the ground and was unconscious. The sloth bear, who was dizzy and swollen by the smoke and lack of oxygen, fell to the ground and was unconscious, but after leaving the smoke-filled cave, he slowly became sober. When he was just taken out of the cave, he could only hum a few times. Now the two front paws of the sloth bear began to shake left and right, and it was about to wake up. The master of the house was still talking and comforting the two bodyguards, which made the old butler anxiously interrupted his master's words and pointed at the sloth bear on the ground, which had begun to move its hands and feet, and said in shock, "Master, master, don't talk too much. This sloth bear is alive. What should we do if it wakes up? What should we do? Should we kill it or let it go?" Belsina looked back and saw that the eyes of the sloth bear were not open. In 2 minutes, it would definitely attack and hurt people. This sloth bear is tall and very strong. Judging from the color of its fur and the degree of wear of its teeth, it is a male sloth bear that has just reached adulthood. It looks like it is tied to the ground, but if it goes crazy, several people can't hold it down. Although India's natural environment is now severely damaged, and some wild animals are facing many challenges to survival, many animals are facing the risk of extinction. But the sloth bear is not one of them. Seeing that this strong guy is about to wake up, Bell smiled coldly from another bodyguard. He pulled out the pistol and shot the sloth bear in the head. This shot was fired at a close distance, and the sloth bear's head was immediately overturned. The whole brain exploded, and the sloth bear's limbs just twitched, and then never moved again. After getting rid of this male sloth bear, Belsing reluctantly threw the gun to the bodyguard next to him, looking at the dirty and tired bodyguard and said, "I know everyone is very tired, but you also know that I have promised the injured workers that I will definitely catch the murderer. Now the murderer has been found in the wrong place. It is a male basketball bear that can only be killed. Everyone, work harder and find the other female sloth bear for me." Everyone looked at each other and shook their heads and smiled bitterly. Our master's temper is really bad. Once he has made up his mind, no one can pull him back. After several days of struggling in the mountains, this suffering makes people sad to hear and cry. But everyone knows that we must find the female sloth bear that hurt people before we can go home. Master, you have fulfilled your promise to the workers. This is a good thing, but there is no need to torture us. To be honest, the bodyguards around us have suffered enough of this kind of foreign suffering. They want to go home and return to their warm beds, but they dare not go back without their master's order. They dare not say a word, let alone feel dissatisfied with the master. The master is also thinking about them. They did this in order to fulfill the promise they made to their subordinates. It is understandable. There is no other way. Since the master has given the order, then just keep looking for another one. Chapter 277. Master, this is gold. Everyone was exhausted after tracking for such a long time in the mountains. But they had to do what their master ordered, so they could only sigh and encourage each other, pat each other on the shoulder, and then began to look for the hateful female sloth bear everywhere to find the murderer. But at this time, the bodyguard who climbed to the bottom of the cave and tied up the sloth bear always felt that the golden light he saw was really wrong. Although his brain was not very bright, it did not prove that he was stupid, so he stood up from the ground, patted his butt, and came to Belsina and said hesitantly, "Master, I have something to report to you. Until now, I still don't understand why I saw that golden light at the bottom of the cave. It seems like some metal reflecting sunlight, which is particularly dazzling but flashes by." Belsina frowned when he heard this. This is not to say that Belsina did not trust his bodyguard, but chose to trust him too much. He frowned because he couldn't figure out why the symptoms appeared. Belsina knew that his bodyguards or servants were 100% loyal to him and would never lie to him. He saw the golden light, but what was that golden light? Belsina frowned and walked to the door of the male sloth bear whose head he had shot. He looked inside. It was pitch black, and he couldn't see anything. The smell was particularly bad. He observed carefully, then stood up and looked at it and reported to the bodyguard. "Where is the golden light seen? Does it prove that there is some metal material in the cave?" Seeing this basement-like building, it is covered by silt. The cave was also dug by the sloth bear. It is possible that some items left behind were dug out. At this time, the old butler nodded and said, "What the master said makes sense. It may be because of the flood at that time. That's why this well was abandoned by Buddhists. Seeing that golden light, maybe the copper were covered by rain in the cave, which was dug out by the sloth bear. Belsina also agreed with this view very much, but this thing is called a relic, and it has a history of at least thousands of years. If a copper were is found in the sloth bear's cave, whether it is a copper plate or a wine glass, it is an antique. It can't be said to be priceless, but the money exchanged is enough to make up for the reward for the foreign crimes he committed in the mountains these days. So Belsina was still very interested, and smiled and patted the bodyguard on the shoulder and asked, "I didn't expect you to be so lucky. Where is the location of the golden light you saw? Can you find it when you go in? Take a look at what the golden light is. If you find an antique, I will give you a motorcycle." Every word said by the master is an imperial decree, and what he said to them, the workers or servants, is a promise. The bodyguard was very excited to say that he would definitely be rewarded with a motorcycle. He was more active than entering the cave to catch the male sloth bear just now. He nodded vigorously when he heard the question. "Master, I remember that the golden light was at the bottom of the cave, but there are many corners in the cave, and the sunlight cannot penetrate there. But the golden light is too dazzling. I guess it seems to be gold, not copper, otherwise it would not be so dazzling. Gold? Could it be that there is gold hidden in the cave dug by the sloth bear? Although the idea is good, it is unlikely to be so. Because Buddhism is not Hinduism. Buddhism advocates frugality, not as extravagant as India, and there are rarely any taboos related to Buddhism. Of course, gold cast Buddha statues are a special case. But whether it is gold or copper, it has been thousands of years old. It must be an antique. It is safer to get it out and keep it in your own hands. Hehehe. Belsina smiled and patted a bodyguard on the shoulder and asked him to go down into the cave and get the glowing thing out. This time the bodyguard entered the cave with a much better attitude than last time. After all, the male sloth bear was in danger of his life last time. This time it was an antique, and it was related to a motorcycle. This is a rare windfall. The excited bodyguard hummed a song. He tied vines to his feet, and then crawled in little by little. The other two bodyguards grabbed the vines tied to their companions who entered the cave, and were ready to pull them out at any time. Fortunately, this cave was dug by this male sloth bear. Although the fighting power of the sloth bear is not as good as that of the tiger or the leopard, its personality is very lonely and clean. Don't look at its hair, which is always dirty. That's because it eats termites, and it is covered with dust. But the sloth bear's clean character cannot be changed. Although the cave dug by the sloth bear is a little damp, there are no other creatures in the cave, and there is no danger. It's just because the sloth bear smells bad. The cave is also smelly, but there is nothing to worry about. The bodyguard climbed in with difficulty. He climbed all the way into the cave, but still didn't see the golden light that stimulated his eyes. It might be because the angle was wrong. Fortunately, the management of Hindus for believers is relatively lax. There are not so many weird regulations, so Hindus can smoke and drink. This older bodyguard is a standard smoker. He carries cigarettes and lighters with him. Don't tell me the lighter is really useful now. He took out the lighter from his trouser pocket with difficulty and then lit it and lay at the bottom of the cave looking up to find that ray of light. Although the light of the lighter is very weak, it is an indisputable fact that metal utensils reflect light. As long as the angle is accurate, metal materials will reflect dazzling light. He looked around in the cave with his head up, but found nothing. Then he turned over and prepared to look for the nest dug by the male sloth bear. There was some hay in the nest, which looked quite comfortable, but there were more fleas and parasites. But who cares about parasites and fleas now? Finding that antique with a hint of reflection is the most correct choice, which is related to a motorcycle. So the older bodyguard could only pinch his nose and start to fiddle with the nest made of hay by the sloth bear. You can't say it. This really made a metal cup that was no more than 10 centimeters in size. The metal cup was yellow and was flattened by the strong physique of the sloth bear. There were also several gems inlaid on it. 2 of the gems had fallen off, and 3 gems as big as peanuts were left. Seeing this flattened gem gold cup made the bodyguard so excited that he almost had a cerebral congestion. Even if he had no taste, he could tell the difference between gold and brass. What's more, it was inlaid with gems. It was a gold cup instead of a brass cup, so when the monster crawled out, it shouted towards the cave in trance, "Ahahaha, master, we are rich. This is not brass, but gold. Master, you found the treasure. Ha 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 ha. Chapter 278, Relics Treasures. Belsina and the old housekeeper, who were guarding the entrance of the Sloth Bear Cave, heard the bodyguard who entered the cave and shouted. The golden treasure was found. The two looked at each other and saw each other. They were both incredible. Is it a mistake? Is today their lucky day? Or the bodyguard who entered the bottom of the cave was talking nonsense because of lack of oxygen? But whether it is true or not, as long as the bodyguard is taken out, we will know. So Belsina jumped up from the ground excitedly and joined the ranks of pulling people out. The three people worked together to pull out the vines tied to the legs of the bodyguard who entered the cave little by little. Maybe everyone was too excited and did not control the speed well. So the bodyguard who dug into the bottom of the cave was pulled and screamed. He kept shouting that his head hit the cave and asked everyone to stop, but now everyone is as excited as if he had taken morphine. Who cares if his head hurts? When the bodyguard was pulled out in a hurry, he was not angry. He stroked the bumps on his head and raised the flattened golden cup in his hand with a laugh. He laughed and shook it in his hand like several people, shouting, Master, look, this is a golden cup inlaid with gems. I didn't lie to you. Look, ha 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 ha. This is the evidence of the gold treasure. How did the master get rich? The old butler was old and didn't have much strength, so he didn't participate in the tug-of-war. He waited at the edge of the cave. At this time, he saw the bodyguard holding up the flattened golden cup in his hand, snatched it and put it in his hand, and looked at it carefully with the help of the sun's light. He smiled while looking at the corners of his mouth, his hands trembling, and then he looked up at Belsina, raised the golden cup in his hand and said, Master, Mars, what this kid said is right. This is a gold cup, and it is inlaid with gems. The only drawback is that it was flattened by the powerful weight of the sloth bear. It is not worth much, but its golden gems are still worth a huge amount. Belsina ran to the old butler at this time, took the gold cup, and observed it carefully. The gold cup was only 10 centimeters high. The diameter was no more than 5 centimeters, a bit like the high-footed cup used by Westerners. There were 5 gems inlaid around the cup. Now 2 of them have fallen off and only 3 are left. Each one is as big as a peanut and the weight must be within 10 to 20 carats. It was weighed in the hand and weighed about 100 yuan. Of course, the smelting technology thousands of years ago made the gold mixed with a lot of impurities. If this gold cup was melted and refined into 9,000 gold, it would only be about 90 grams. 90 grams is also pure gold, plus the gems on the gold cup. Its value will definitely exceed several million rupees. I didn't expect Mars, the older bodyguard, to bring me such a big gain. If there is one, there must be another. Although the temple ruins were abandoned suddenly, the reason for the abandonment may be the flood. It was not because of the war. People fled in a hurry, so the gold and silver utensils were not taken out and were forgotten in the flood. If it was an ice disaster or a fire, these gold utensils would not have been left behind. After carefully observing the golden cup, Belsina laughed and raised the golden cup above his head, shouting to the bodyguards who came back after hearing the news. Ha 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 ha, everyone, look at what I have in my hand. A golden cup. Lord Shiva bless me. Mars actually found this golden cup. Listen, bodyguards of the Singh family, we found the golden treasure. Ha ha ha. Oh, long live the Singh family, long live Master Singh. Ha ha ha. I didn't expect the master to be so lucky. He actually found the golden treasure. Who can be as lucky as the master? He can find the golden treasure by catching a sloth bear. What else can it be but the blessing of Lord Shiva? Yes, it must be Lord Shiva who blesses the master and the Singh family, so our master's luck is so good. Seeing that everyone was very happy and hugged each other to celebrate, there was no greed in their eyes. There was no action or intention to rob any golden treasure. This is why Belsing is so good to his bodyguards and servants, building houses for everyone and marrying wives for everyone, because these people are 100% loyal to the Singh family. Let alone the gold treasure. Even if it was a gold city, they would not have the slightest greed or rebellious thoughts. Everyone was very happy and excited as if they had been injected with chicken blood, but they would not be greedy for these gold treasures. Whatever they found belonged to their master and the Singh family. Their job was to protect the safety of this batch of treasures and their master. What reward could they get? Everyone didn't care. Because everyone knew in their hearts that Master Singh was very generous. If they really wanted to find the gold treasure, the reward they would get would definitely be very generous. It was possible to get a car as a reward. Just now, they were very excited and were ready to dig out this sloth bear and cover it with soil. It was like a basement building, ready to see what else was inside. Although Belsing was excited for a while, he turned around several times and didn't find any tools. At this time, everyone couldn't help but smile bitterly at each other. The only way to enter the jungle was to find the female sloth bear that hurt people. The tools they brought were all for hunting: guns, ammunition, kettles, and emergency medicines. How can we dig without even bringing a fork? We have to dig with our hands, but we are not sloth bears, so how can we do that? So when we see this dark sloth bear cave, we all know that there is a golden treasure hidden inside, but there is no way. This feeling of entering a treasure mountain and returning empty-handed is really unpleasant and makes everyone anxious. In the end, there was no way, so we could only turn the goal of solving the problem to our own master, and Belsina was helpless. No matter how powerful I am, I can't turn each of you into a sloth bear to dig a passage, and I can't turn out a shovel or any digging tools. Where can I find it for you? Look at me, see if I can be useful. So Bel looked at his old butler with a helpless look. After all, the old butler is a wise man. Seeing that everyone was at a loss, he decided to make a decision, and smiled and patted Belsina on the shoulder and said, "Master, calm down. Now is not the time to get excited. How can we dig without tools? All we need to do now is to go back to Singer Industrial Park, quietly prepare tools and sufficient manpower, and then fight back to dig. In addition, we must prepare survival equipment, such as tents, mosquito nets, drinking water and food. Otherwise, we, the people digging the ruins, will be infected with malaria, which is no joke, and can kill people. Master, we have to be prepared before we come in." Chapter 279, Is Our Boss Crazy? Belsina heard some of the old butler's analysis and felt that it was true. Even if you are anxious to dig for gold treasures, you can't dig with empty hands. Without equipment, everything is empty talk, so Belsina forced himself to calm down. Seeing the extremely excited bodyguards, everyone's eyes were red, as if they were injected with chicken blood, and they spread their hands helplessly and smiled. "What are you doing? Like a rooster with red eyes, do you want to dig these stone buildings with your claws? Didn't you hear the old butler's instructions? Go back and get ready, bring all the equipment, and then come back." Everyone scratched their heads and smiled foolishly, and then prepared to organize their equipment in groups of 3 or 2, and then go back. At this time, Belsina came to Mars and patted him on the shoulder and said, "Mars, you have done a great job today. You will get a Yamaha motorcycle and a bonus of 100,000 rupees. I will give the things in the ruins to the bodyguards and servants of your character family in proportion. The bonus will not be reduced by a penny." Hearing what the master said, all the bodyguards cheered loudly. If they were not in the rainforest, they would even take out their guns and fire to celebrate. Because of the excitement, and because the harvest was so great, everyone walked back very fast, but no matter how fast they went, they could not catch up with the time. There was no choice but to rest in the rainforest for another night. The moment everyone walked out of the rainforest at 11 o'clock the next morning, all the workers in the entire Singh Industrial Park felt incredible. These people, including Master Belsing, were like refugees fleeing from the disaster. Their bodies were scratched by branches and their heads were as dirty as a chicken coop. Even though they looked so embarrassed, everyone's mental state was very good. Everyone was in high spirits, as if they had been injected with chicken blood. Seeing the incredible looks of the workers in Singer Industrial Park, everyone just smiled at each other, ignoring Belsina, who had walked out of the mountains. They came to the general manager's office of the industrial park and found Ivan, who stayed behind. When Ivan, who stayed behind, saw his boss, who was disheveled and came out of the rainforest like a savage, he said with a smile, "Boss, what happened to you? It's only been a few days since you entered the jungle, and you're like this. It's really too miserable. Hurry back home to take a shower and change into clean clothes. Let's talk about it tomorrow." I didn't know how to take a shower and change clothes. This matter is so urgent, can I delay it? This is a matter of money. Belsina now dared not delay for a moment like a clockwork watch. He took the water handed over by Ivan, drank it down, and then he breathed a sigh of relief, and said to Ivan, "Ivan, I don't have the time to joke with you. You have to keep my words 100% confidential. If you leak any information to the outside world, I will punish you." Ivan knew that when his master spoke seriously, he was not joking. If he did not follow through seriously, his position as deputy general manager would probably be replaced immediately. Who doesn't care about their status? Who doesn't care how much money they can make? Ivan was reluctant to give up his position as deputy general manager. Seeing that his grandfather was so serious, he also knew the seriousness of the situation, and said to his boss, "Boss, don't worry, I know the importance. Every word you say will be accurately implemented and executed. And keep it confidential. The outside world will never know a little bit of information. I can guarantee you this. It's good to get a guarantee," Belsina said to Ivan while smoking. "The reason why I'm so embarrassed is that I went into the mountains to find the female sloth bear that hurt the workers, but the sloth bear was not found. I found a site of Buddha thousands of years ago and found this." After saying that, he took out the crushed wine glass from his arms and shook it in front of Ivan's eyes. Now Ivan knew why the master asked him to keep it secret, and why his master was so excited. Regardless of his physical fatigue, he came to discuss something with him. It turned out to be about the gold treasure. This is still a good topic. If the outside world knows about it, it will definitely attract a group of wolves to look around. After feeding these hungry wolves and ghosts, how much profit will the Singh family have left? After knowing the seriousness of the situation, Ivan said to Belsing seriously, "Master, I know what to do. If there is anything you need to do, please tell me, and I will do my best to complete it." Singh smiled and said, "That's what I want from you. You have a lot of work to do. The first thing is to organize all the workers of the group company according to the previous work and life habits. Continue to produce steadily, as if nothing has happened." Ivan nodded and took note. This is the cleverness of his master. He maintains the previous work and life status, so that others can't figure out what he is doing. This is the most clever trick. He will do whatever his master tells him to do. It's no big deal to let the workers continue production and life with peace of mind. Everything can be as usual. Belsina saw that Ivan had written down all his words in his notebook, and then he said, "The second requirement is to pay close attention to the composition of the logging team and set rules for them. No one is allowed to enter the mountains. The reason is that the sloth bears or tigers in the mountains have become rampant to a certain extent. If you go into the mountains, you will be attacked by these beasts. Let everyone cut wood in peace. As long as these 2 points are followed, Belsina will let go and take people into the mountains to dig for treasures, without worrying that those curious workers will reveal the news of the discovery of Buddhist ruins to the outside world. Then he will be very safe, and can dig for treasures wholeheartedly." Then he told Ivan to wait for his instructions, and be ready to transport the gold treasure at any time. Although Belsina didn't know how large the scale of this batch of treasures was, it was right to prepare the vehicles and wooden boxes for transportation first. It was better to make an advance estimate to avoid being in a hurry at that time. After arranging all the things that Ivan had to do, Belsina got in the car and ran back home. When Belsina appeared in the house in such a mess, all the women felt that their masters had been robbed by the refugees. This was too miserable. Belsina felt a headache when he saw the women crying. He didn't care about taking a shower or eating. He settled these crying women first and promised many unequal treaties. Then he came to the bathroom, washed his body well, had a good meal and fell asleep. He got up from the bed at night. Then he discussed with the old housekeeper the details of the action, how many people to bring, who to enter the Buddhist ruins for excavation, and the tools for excavation must be prepared. Supplies must be sufficient. 3 days later, Belsina brought 30 people to the Singer Industrial Park quietly, and then avoided all the workers, carrying supplies into the mountains to prepare to dig the Buddhist ruins found to see how many gold treasures were left behind. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. we cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 280, Dig Hard for Me. Belsina stayed at home for only 2 days and then hurriedly led his men to the deep mountains. This time he brought more people, so he also carried more supplies. The supplies he used alone exceeded the amount for 10 days. Belsina vowed not to withdraw his troops until he found the treasure this time. Because of the road opened up last time, it was relatively convenient to enter the mountain, but you must pay attention to the gravel slope under your feet. Those stones that have been soaked for many years are very slippery. If you are not careful, you will fall, and your calves will be scratched by sharp stones. Because the air is humid and the bacteria multiply a lot, the skin will quickly ulcerate if it is slightly damaged, form a large area of abscesses, so it is very dangerous. If there is a non-combat casualty, it will cause great trouble to the excavation work. In addition, when going up the mountain this time, the human mule Brook was there, and Belsina finally let go of his hands and feet. It was quite comfortable to be carried up the mountain. They set off at 6 o'clock in the morning, and before it got dark, they arrived at the ruins of the temple. Then they found a relatively clean place, cleaned up all the dead branches and fallen leaves around, collected firewood and set up camp, put up the tents. These tents are all new tents bought by Belsina for disaster relief work. The remaining hundreds of tents are all placed in the warehouse of Singer Castle for strategic reserves. As for when a flood or drought will break out, only God knows. Long-term storage of these strategic materials is responsible for a family, because there are so many people in the Singer family. Set up the camp, use the water treatment system to prepare sufficient water sources, and then dig another field toilet. This is considered to be settled down, because this time there is a chef, so everyone is relieved about the meal. Especially as a distinguished Belsina, special attention should be paid to diet, otherwise it will make the whole family restless. Because it was already late, everyone chose to rest after dinner and arranged for people to stand guard. Belsina took a hot bath with boiled water very luxuriously. The old butler frowned while rubbing Belsina's back. Master, to be honest, I have reservations about whether the profits can be guaranteed by mobilizing so many people and so many materials to dig in this ruins. Belsina laughed and said while applying soap, Old butler, I have a feeling that in this ruins that has been abandoned for thousands of years, we will definitely dig out a large number of gold products, and the profits will definitely exceed hundreds of millions of rupees. I'm very confident about this. You should also know which temple is not greedy, let alone a temple that has been abandoned for thousands of years. There are immeasurable things in it. This is an opportunity to make a fortune. We can't miss it. We must dig it up, no matter what the cost. The old butler could only smile bitterly and shook his head, pouring hot water on Belsina as he spoke. If you want me to feel at ease, I have to see those gold products. If the master really dug up a large number of gold products, would you melt them into gold and sell them? Belsina said with a smile and rolled his eyes. My old butler, am I so unbearable in your eyes? Thousands of years of gold products are the most valuable antiques. It is much higher than melting gold and selling it. Am I so stupid? Selling the glorious gold, I will send these gold antiques to Sotheby's auction house for sale. That is the best destination for these priceless gold products. The old butler was relieved. His master did not choose to blindly sell these excavated gold products because of the tight funds of Singer Industrial Group. To maximize the benefits, this is the decision that a wise head of the family should make. Instead of melting these gold into gold bars and selling them because of a hothead, the loss would be huge. His master did not make a confused decision because of a hothead, which made the old butler feel relieved. A few minutes later, Bel took a bath and lay down on the bed in the big tent that belonged to him with a relaxed body. That's right, it was the bed. Others slept on the floor or on the moisture-proof partition, but Belsina slept on the bed. It was hard to imagine how difficult it was to get a big bed into the mountain. It took 5 people to carry supplies for Belsina, which satisfied his life needs as a master. It was luxurious enough. Belsina tried his best to stop the old butler from carrying more supplies. The old butler even wanted to move the phonograph up the mountain so that the master could listen to relaxing music at any time, relieve stress. In the eyes of the old butler, Belsina, the master lived comfortably in the mountains, which was much more valuable than the gold. The next morning, after eating breakfast made by the chef, Belsina was dressed neatly, accompanied by the old butler in person, holding a thermos cup in his hand. While drinking tea, he directed the workers holding shovels and various digging tools to dig at the lazy bear's den. After 3 hours of continuous digging, the stone that finally looked like a basement finally revealed its true appearance. This is not a basement, but a very large stone building. There are traces of smoke and fire on the stone, which looks very much like a kitchen. After the analysis of the excavated soil samples, it was found that the Buddhist ruins were submerged by a sudden flood. In addition, some human bones were excavated, and the bodies of people who escaped the flood were drowned. No wonder no one has discovered this relic for so many years. The flood suddenly hit and flooded the entire temple. The highest water level reached 3 or 4 meters. In addition, the flood came too suddenly. It may have occurred at night when people were sleeping, so there were more casualties. In addition to the 5 workers who excavated the Sloth Bear Cave, another 20 people organized 4 excavation teams and chose 4 directions of the temple ruins for excavation. The human mule Brook took 5 people to guard around. At lunch, Belsina was in a very heavy mood. Because no items were dug out in the morning, a lot of human bones were dug out everywhere, but no gold products were seen. Belsina knew that he couldn't get what he wanted in a hurry. He only dug out less than 1/10 of the sloth bear's lair in the morning. He could only see the whole picture of the stone kitchen building. There was still several meters of silt underneath. If he wanted to dig it all out, it would take at least half a month. Fortunately, he had time, and all the workers he brought were strong and healthy. They were members of the family and could work non-stop for 24 hours. After lunch, another team of people entered the kitchen ruins for excavation. There were also several people holding small shovels to crush the large pieces of soil that were excavated. They would see if there were any small gold products or gems inside to ensure that there was no risk of any mistakes. Then the soil would be transported to the outermost part of the Buddhist ruins and piled up on one side. They would dig and dig 24 hours a day. In addition to eating and sleeping, they would dig down. On the 3rd day, there was finally a sign of hope. Chapter 281, 6-Tusked Elephant Pendant. The excavation work has now reached 2 PM on the 3rd day. The workers who had just finished lunch continued to dig with all their strength. Half of the stone kitchen has been cleared out. Because there has been no result in 3 days, Belsing has exhausted his patience. In addition, the weather is hot, so he went back to the tent and fell asleep, planning to take a nap. Belsing is a master who arranges his time casually, but the servants can't. The things ordered by the master must be completed, so they kept digging under the big sun. Suddenly, a servant shoveled down and heard a clang of metal collision. Although it was very subtle, the worker holding the shovel could feel the collision from the shovel. They all knew clearly what the Singh family had spent so much effort to dig here. They had also seen the flattened gold cup. After hearing the collision, the servant was very excited. He quickly picked up the shovel and started digging with his hands. He dug the soil bit by bit and saw a human skeleton. Next to the skeleton was a giant earring unique to India. The shape is very exquisite. Seeing the size and style of the earring, you know that this is an earring worn by men, which is 1/3 larger than the earrings worn by ordinary women. Although it is covered with mud and looks dirty, the appearance of this kind of earring makes everyone feel excited. That proves that the master's feeling is indeed correct. This ancient Buddhist relic that was submerged and disappeared for thousands of years was indeed a gold treasure. Now the second gold product has been excavated. After finding this gold earring, the other workers also envied this guy very much. It was really lucky. Then everyone dug out the remains of the servant wearing male jewelry, and a pair of very large earrings were excavated. It is equivalent to the size of a child's palm, and it is made of pure gold, inlaid with rice-sized gems. However, due to the collision between an earring and the iron cutter, a very obvious cutting mark was formed. In addition to this pair of exquisitely shaped gold earrings, a gold necklace as thick as 0.5 centimeters was unearthed. Moreover, the shape of the gold necklace is very beautiful, and there is an elephant pendant hanging below. The shape of the elephant pendant is very beautiful, especially the ivory part. After careful processing, the shape is very strange. This elephant has 6 tusks, commonly known as the 6-tusk elephant. There were so many harvests on the 3rd day, which made everyone feel incredible. With such good news, of course, they had to inform their own master as soon as possible. To make the master happy, after cleaning up all the gold products, the old housekeeper held these excavated gold products and came to the tent where Belsinger lived. Gently woke Belsinger up. When Bell was sober and saw these gold products, I felt that I was dazzled or dreaming. The shape of these gold products was really exquisite, especially the pair of large earrings, which were formed by many small gold circles. The thickness of the huge gold chain was as thick as a woman's little finger. Especially the elephant pendant on the gold chain was as big as a palm. It weighed more than 200 grams when it was weighed in the hand. Moreover, the elephant pendant on the gold dot is perfect in both craftsmanship and shape, and is very 3-dimensional. Especially the 6 large tusks of the elephant are carved to be lifelike. This elephant is a famous Buddhist mythical animal, one of the 4 great bodhisattvas of Mahayana Buddhism, and the 6-tusked white elephant, that is the Mount of Samantabhadra Bodhisattva. In other words, this strange elephant with 6 tusks is shaped like the Mount of Samantabhadra Bodhisattva, and the meaning of elephants being auspicious is circulated in Southeast Asia. Therefore, the status of elephants in the hearts of Southeast Asian people is equivalent to that of the unicorn in the hearts of the Chinese people. It is a lucky animal and a sign of auspiciousness. It is a good omen, and also the patron saint of the people. In the ancient Buddhist temples thousands of years ago, the status of monks who could wear this 6-tusked elephant necklace pendant must not be low. The first thing that appeared included the 6-tusked elephant. Could it be that this temple is the temple of Samantabhadra Bodhisattva? It is very likely that Samantabhadra Bodhisattva is dedicated to it, but there is less evidence and I dare not conclude it. I didn't expect that I would have such a big harvest when I woke up, which made Belsinger feel very excited. He put these treasures in the box he had prepared long ago, and then put them in a corner of the tent. He walked out of the tent with a laugh, and saw the chef busy preparing dinner, so he gave a loud order. Chef Hamill just finished lunch today, and we have made a great harvest, digging out several gold treasures. I'm happy, so I must make a rich dinner today. Everyone, have a bottle of iced beer to celebrate. It is such a luxury to be able to drink a bottle of iced beer in this subtropical rainforest. There is no shortage of trouble for these iced beers, including the incubator, the liquid nitrogen refrigeration circulation system, and then these very bulky and fragile beers, all brought up the mountain. What kind of price will be paid? It is more than 10 times higher than the price of these beers. But today is happy. Today is a great harvest. The workers who have been tired all day wielding shovels and digging all day, shouldn't they drink a bottle of iced beer to cool down and enjoy themselves? You are the boss, not Huang Shiren. If you really treat the servants of the Singer family like that, someone would have rebelled long ago. Chef Hamill heard his master's order. He felt very happy. While massaging and applying seasoning to a slaughtered goat in his hand, he smiled and said to Belsinger, "Okay, master, I know. Tonight we will have roasted whole lamb, paired with ice cold beer. That's a great feeling. It's so luxurious to be able to enjoy such delicious food and wine in this ghost environment. Ha 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 ha, I have to be extravagant today. Not only will I say yes to food and wine, but I will also give some rewards to the servants who have dug up these treasures. But what kind of rewards should I give?" Old butler. Hearing his master's question, the old butler couldn't help but shake his head and smile bitterly. As the head of the servants, he could feel the meticulous care of his master for the servants. That was very gratifying, but serving as a butler, an important position, requires consideration for the entire Singer family. Try to save money as much as possible, so the old housekeeper is very conflicted, wanting to get rewards, but reluctant to give. He looked at Bell's embarrassing character and said, "Master, how can I make a decision?" "You can just make a decision. But master, I remind you that it's just the beginning, and there will be many opportunities for awards in the future. I think a bicycle is good. What do you think? Belsing knew that the old housekeeper was stingy, but he didn't expect him to be stingy to this extent. A bicycle is nothing in developed countries. But in remote Indian villages, a bicycle is an important family property, sometimes even more important than a motorcycle. Because motorcycles need to drink oil. Without gasoline, motorcycles are just decorations, but bicycles are different. Where can't they be driven? So bicycles are very precious gifts. Chapter 282, Luxury Tableau. There was a bottle of cold beer at dinner time. For the servants who were covered in dust, after working outside all day, there was nothing more refreshing than this bottle of beer. Everyone sat together, drinking cold beer, eating mutton and talking about today's harvest. The servants who were responsible for digging the sloth bear's nest, which was the kitchen of the temple ruins, had a huge harvest, and rewards were indispensable. However, although the other groups of people made relatively smooth progress in the excavation, they found nothing, except some white human bones. The huge gap was incredible. Could it be that all the gold treasures were concentrated in the center of the temple ruins? The stone buildings around were just some ordinary rooms. Nothing was found, except the bones of the dead, which made those people feel very disappointed. They sighed and looked at the happy faces of their colleagues who dug out the gold treasures, which made them angry. But who let them have good luck? The servants who didn't dig anything looked at each other and made a secret decision in their hearts. Tomorrow, we must dig hard and dig to death. We must dig something, otherwise we must let these people laugh to death. Of course, the main reason is the reward. Who doesn't want his family to have enough property? Who doesn't want his family to live a better life? Bicycles are also a very practical means of transportation, and one of the important properties. Who wouldn't be happy to get a bicycle as a reward for free? I can't use it myself, but the children and their families can use it. Anyway, the people sitting next to Belsina have different ideas, and are secretly competing. Every society composed of people has competitors. It's no big deal. Can't we just develop in a good direction? So everyone had a lively time, after eating and drinking, and then returned to their tents, crawled into the mosquito net and fell asleep. Of course, the night watchman will hide in the dark with an AK-47, always observing the surrounding movements to prevent wild animals or others from peeping. The people who are in charge of the temple ruins will conduct a sneak attack to ensure everyone's safety. They will change shifts every 4 hours. Anyway, there are many open and hidden sentries. Anyone who dares to rashly break into the warning range will be shot on the spot, whether it is a person or a wild animal. It's no big deal to kill them. Belsina was very happy and in a very good mood because he got what he wanted. He slept so happily and peacefully. He didn't even dream and slept until dawn. He got up from the bed at 8 o'clock in the morning, washed his face, had breakfast, drank tea with a thermos, and sat on the stone to watch the servants like human excavators digging with shovels and pickaxes. Now that it is clear that this sloth bear's nest is the location of the kitchen, in addition to those gold and silver utensils, there will definitely be a lot of pottery or porcelain. With a history of thousands of years, whether it is a broken pottery bowl or a pottery jar, it is a rare antique. Sent to the auction, even if it is broken, it is worth some money. It is enough to withstand all the expenses of this excavation, so why not? It's all money, and even a mosquito leg is meat. So the old butler took the initiative early in the morning and newly arranged the team. There were 5 workers working in the kitchen, which was increased to 8. There were more than 4 people who entered the stone kitchen to dig. 2 transported the soil and 2 screened it, so that no details were missed. The excavation work yesterday was too rough. There were cut marks on the earrings, worn by the huge man, and a trace of a dent was left on the golden artwork. It more or less affected the price of the artwork, and it would be a flaw, even if it was sent to the auction. So all the people digging for treasure this time were extra careful. The shovels used were used to dig in little by little, but because the workload was too large, and they were very cautious, afraid of damaging the things inside, so the progress was really a bit slow. But the excavation work is like this. Everything is buried under the soil. Who knows what will be dug with a shovel? Even though these golden artworks are metals and very hard, gold is much softer than steel. It would be troublesome to leave traces. In order to ensure the income of the Singh family, the excavation speed was slow, but it could only be like this and wait slowly. A morning of excavation passed like this, and the things excavated were varied, including wooden furniture thousands of years ago, although it had rotted. But there are also some wood residues, some plant residues, and some broken pottery of various kinds. But the styles of these pottery are the most ordinary, not even glazed, just tools used by ordinary monks. Even though they have a history of thousands of years, they are not worth much money, and can only cope with current expenses. Unexpectedly, when they gathered together for lunch at noon, the workers who were digging outside got an unexpected harvest. They actually dug up a storage room, which was filled with some jars and pots. More than 40% of these jars and pots were broken, but 60% were intact, and there were more than a dozen jars as big as watermelons that were sealed very well. After opening them, they turned out to be plant seeds, which looked like wheat and rice. Of course, the seeds of these plants have been carbonized and turned into a black mass of mud and are useless. But so many pottery jars made thousands of years ago are relatively good antiques and can be regarded as an unexpected harvest. This makes the excavator workers feel very happy. Yesterday, they were still suppressing them, but they didn't expect to be overtaken by these colleagues today. Everyone encouraged each other, gave up the lunch break, and continued to work with shovels and pickaxes. Because the temperature was so humid, they sweated in their clothes, and it felt particularly uncomfortable to be wet, so everyone was naked except for a pair of shorts. Usually when digging the soil, these workers would communicate with each other and tell jokes to each other, but this afternoon, everyone was silent. There was only the sound of shovels and pickaxes, and no more extra words, which made Belsina happy and a little worried about everyone's mood. When he was about to discuss countermeasures with the old housekeeper to suppress the signs of this competitive behavior, he didn't expect to get an unexpected harvest. The workers who were digging carefully slowly inserted their shovels into the soil and then turned them over. They put them in a rattan basket and planned to transport them out to see if there were any small treasures left in it. But unexpectedly, the shovel in his hand made a tooth-grinding crunching sound, which made everyone present feel that their ears were like rabbits, and immediately stood up. Belsina and the old butler also stopped talking, staring at the kitchen ruins that had been excavated 2/3, to see what the sound of metal collision that made people feel teethache was. When the digging workers below heard this sound, they gave up all their tools, gathered around, and started digging with their hands. Chapter 283, Luxury Tableau. Although the soil in the cave was very hard, it was all the sediment after the flood. But these servants and bodyguards were all rough workers, and some of them had sharp tools. Although they couldn't dig it with their hands, couldn't they use the wood residues they picked up to peel it off? So everyone gathered together and shoveled out the soil bit by bit with the wooden fragments in their hands. After a 10 cm layer of soil, the object on the surface was a dark golden metal surface with many lotus shapes carved on it. The radius was more than 20 centimeters, and only a small corner of the metal material was exposed. Then they began to clean the soil next to it, but the more they cleaned, the more excited everyone felt, because the area of this thing was really too large. Just like this, they used wood to clean it bit by bit, and then a rectangular box was exposed. The length of the box was more than 1 meter and the width was more than 40 centimeters. After the surface of the box lid was exposed, everyone felt incredible, and even a little scared. It was too luxurious, really too luxurious. This metal box was not only dark golden, but also carved with auspicious plants related to Buddhism. There are also various Buddhist holy objects, and the carving technology can be said to be lifelike. The carving technique used as relief, that is, various figures and plant shapes are chiseled on the surface of the metal. Plants are relatively acceptable, but the shapes of figures and animals are extremely luxurious, and even the eyes are inlaid with rubies and sapphires. Wow, such a large box more than 1 meter long appeared, and everyone knew that today's harvest would definitely not be small. At this time, Belsina and the old housekeeper, with the help of the workers, came to the kitchen covered with stone, and saw the lid of the metal box in a corner of the stone wall. The luxurious shape made Belsina, a nobleman, feel a little incredible. But what makes people feel strange is that this box is actually tilted in the soil, and the lid of the box has been opened a gap. There is nothing inside, which is full of black soil. It seems that this box floated on the water when the flood broke out, and even the traces of the collision between the four corners of the box and the wall were left behind. Fortunately, the rubies and sapphires inlaid on the surface of the box are very strong, and none of them are missing. At this time, the old butler trembled, stroked the surface of the box with his hand, and then said to Belsina with a smile, "Master, look at this box. It is so beautiful. It seems that there must be priceless treasures inside, but I wonder, what is in this metal box? The box is already talking like this. How luxurious is the stuff inside?" Belsina had no way to judge what this box was for. Although the box was large in size and luxurious in shape, even the figures carved on it, the eyes of animals are all gems, and the stuff inside must be extremely precious. But this box appeared in the kitchen, which was puzzling. It seems that, in order to solve the mystery of this box, we can only dig it out and see what is left in the box. Only then can we determine what this box is for. In any case, with the appearance of this box, today is not in vain. Belsina smiled and helped the old butler up, then greeted the workers who were digging around and said loudly, "What are you all standing there for? Hurry up and dig this box out. To be honest, I'm a little curious about what this box is for. Everyone, be careful. There are gems engraved on it. Don't knock the gems off, because they are too small to be recognized in the mud." Everyone knew that their group won the championship today and received the reward. They were finally proud of themselves. Not being overwhelmed by those damn colleagues, everyone felt strong all over. Holding the tools that had rotted into a small piece in their hands, they began to clean the mud around the box. As time went by, the mud around the box was cleaned out, and the shape of the box was also revealed. It was a square box. There were even yellow metal handles on both sides. After cleaning all the mud around the box, the four workers worked together and slowly moved the box to its original position. Then they opened the lid of the box and began to clean the mud inside. If it was not cleaned up, the weight of this box would definitely exceed several hundred kilograms. Several men might not be able to lift it. Even if they could, the yellow metal handles on both sides of the box would not be able to withstand the weight of the box. Hundreds of kilograms of weight would definitely deform or even break. When such a luxurious metal box is damaged, how can it be sold at a good price? At this time, it was already past 3 p.m. The light in the jungle was dim. Although Belsina brought a solar generator, it could only charge the flashlight. If it were to set up wires or lighting, it would be a bit whimsical. So everyone could only turn on the flashlight and let the workers clean the dirt in the box. The thickness of the dirt in the box, that had just been cleaned, was no more than 10 centimeters. Then a worker screamed, and then everyone saw a golden reflective spot as big as a little finger. At this time, everyone was even more excited. This is the appearance of gold. Is there anything more precious than golden gems? More valuable? No. When the golden light as big as a fingernail appeared, it was a signal. Everyone put their heads together and began to clean the dirt inside. Then he took it out with his hands. When all the dirt in the box was cleaned up, and the 5 bottles in the box were exposed, everyone couldn't help but cheer loudly. The things in the box were really incredible. What exactly appeared in it? A set of gold tabla inlaid with various precious gems appeared. They were neatly stacked in the box, and placed in their own positions. In order to facilitate the inventory of the cleaned metal box, it was lifted out, and placed in the center of the camp. Then Belsina ordered 2 150-degree incandescent lamps to illuminate the area within 5 meters around. He and the old butler put on gloves and began to clean the gold products inlaid with various gems in the box bit by bit. The first thing to be cleaned out was a set of 36 sets of gold plates, and the size of the plates was divided into 6 levels. The smallest one was only as big as a fist, like a plate for eating dumplings with soy sauce. There were 6 such small plates, neatly stacked together. The plates were neatly tied with metal bandages, and in the middle was a ruby button the size of a pigeon egg. After opening the button, 6 fist-sized gold plates were taken out. All of the plates were painted with plant shapes, including lotus and bodhi tree. Chapter 284, Conservative estimate of $30 million US. The area of these 6 pure gold dinner plates is only the size of a fist, and they are all engraved with some sacred plants related to Buddhism. Only the size of a fist. What are the large dinner plates used for? According to Belsina's estimation, they should be used to place some seasonings. Take out the smallest set of 36 plates and wash them in clean water. After washing, the surface of the plates is still covered with a dark golden substance. This is the oxidation of gold metal buried in the soil for a long time. Only through special chemical reagents can these gold products be restored to their previous appearance. At that time, they will be golden dinner plates. Wash all these dinner plates, wipe them dry, fix them with the original pure gold fixing frame, and then weigh them in your hand. The weight is more than 1 kilogram. Wow, it's really beautiful. Even if this set of plates is sent to the auction, the price will definitely not be less than $1 million. This is the real fortune. This is the real gold treasure. What's more, the plates that occupy more than half of the space in the box, and the remaining 5 sets, are much larger than this set of plates. The shape is much more beautiful and luxurious. Not to mention Belsina, even the servants and bodyguards who were watching the excitement around couldn't help but help clean up. But they didn't dare to, so they could only wait anxiously by the side. This kind of fun can only belong to the senior members of the Singer family, and they dare not touch it. Because this set of gold plates has 36 groups, each group of 6, all fixed on the 4 sides by the gold racks. After unbuttoning the jewel buckles, these plates can be taken out one by one for cleaning. The smallest plate is marked by Bella's number 6, which is slightly larger than number 5. Then finally to number 1, the diameter of number 1 plate exceeds 20 centimeters, which is the real plate for eating. The number 6 plate is painted with some plants related to Buddhism, and the number 5 plate is painted with some mythical beasts related to Buddhism. The number 4 plate is painted with Buddhist myths, and the number 3 plate is painted with some Buddha shapes in Buddhism. The number 2 plate is painted with the Western paradise of Buddhism, and the number 1 plate is painted with the shape of Buddha, and the carving is very exquisite and smooth, lifelike. After all 36 sets of menus were cleared, everyone looked at the 6 sets of menus in front of them, and no one did not cite the wisdom of the ancients. It was incredible. How did they think of it? How could such a beautiful golden artwork be made? Smart is really smart. Of course, this has been determined. The box is made of gold. The items in the tableau box must be more than these 6 sets of plates, which only occupy 1/3 of the area. The other 1/3 of the area is a set of wine glasses. Of course, Buddhists are prohibited from drinking. It may be a clear water cup for drinking water, but the shape is very luxurious, and the surface is covered with various gems. If you distinguish them by size, there are a total of 6 sets. Unlike the plates are the smallest and the wine glasses are the largest. The largest set should be 6 gold cast gem wine glasses, but what makes people feel incredible is that there are only 5 cups left. It is placed on a rectangular tray made of gold, missing the middle one. At this time, Belsina couldn't help but think of the golden wine glass that was flattened by the lazy bear, which was indeed one of the wine glasses in this set. Finally, the real owner was found. However, this is a set of 6 wine glasses, but the gold wine glass inlaid with gemstones has been flattened. It is impossible to restore it. So, this set of gold wine glasses is the missing set product, and its value will be greatly discounted. Because it is incomplete, it is conservatively estimated that the price of this set of gold wine glasses can only be around hundreds of thousands of dollars. Just because one wine glass is missing, the price immediately drops by half. How can Belsina accept this? But what can you do if you don't accept it? You can't restore the flattened gold wine glass to its original shape, so you can only accept it with a pinch of your nose. Because the bodyguards and servants who were watching the excitement at the scene also sighed, they are not stupid, and know that the flattened gold wine glass was originally one of a set. This trouble can reduce the yield by half. But Belsina didn't have time to feel sad, because there were still 5 sets of wine glasses to be cleaned up, although the wine glasses below were getting smaller and smaller. But the shape is getting more and more exquisite, and the gems inlaid on it are getting bigger and bigger, because Buddhism emphasizes the 6 treasures, including glass, coral, giant clam, gold, silver, and pearls and crystals. So the inlaid ones are all crystals, rubies, sapphires, emeralds, jade, and pure white jade, without inlaid pearls or corals. After cleaning out these 6 sets of golden gem wine glasses, the other 1/3 of the box is full of single tabloa, including 6 large, medium and small spoons. The largest spoon is as big as a coconut, and it seems to be used for soup. The shape of the smallest spoon is actually a colander, which is in the shape of a lotus, and it seems to be used to scoop out the vegetables in the stew. In addition to these 6 spoons, there are some tabloa that only appears outside of India, including knives, forks and chopsticks. These chopsticks are all placed in an ivory bucket, with a total of 6 pairs. It seems that this extraordinarily luxurious gold tableau is all 6 sets, which should be something that 6 people can use. In addition to these, there are also some small square boxes with lids made of gold, a total of 12 pieces, and these square boxes should contain some spices. The length and width are 5 centimeters, and the depth is also 5 centimeters. The golden lid on the box has a handle made of an animal head. After gently opening it, there are some things of various colors inside. Although thousands of years have passed, if you sniff carefully with your nose, there is still some faint fragrance. From this point, it can be seen that no matter from ancient times to the present, India cannot do without curry. The things stored in these golden boxes are the most powerful proof. Of course, there are more than 12 kinds of curry in India. In addition to the spices loaded in these fist-sized spice boxes, there are also 2 lotus-shaped 8 treasure box-shaped utensils below. After opening it, it is still filled with spices. In other words, this set of gold boxes contains not only tabloa, but also spices for 6 people. In other words, this set of tabloa made of gold and inlaid with gems is used by 6 people. It seems that this set of golden tabloa is taken out only when entertaining important people, which also represents how huge the financial resources and power of this temple are. As for this set of golden tabloa, although a golden wine glass is missing, as long as the flattened golden wine glass is restored by oneself, even if this set of gold tabloa is activated, the most conservative estimate is that it is worth more than $30 million US. If someone knows the value of it and has enough money, the auction amount will exceed $80 million US or even reach hundreds of millions of US dollars. This is not just a distant dream of getting rich, this is real wealth. Chapter 285, Have to Leave. When the gold cutlery storage box was completely cleaned, Belsina breathed a sigh of relief. Seeing the old butler put all the gold products in the box, then closed the lid, locked it with the buckle on it, and then joined the human flesh Brook. The old and the young put the gold box in their tent, and then announced loudly to the silent people around. What kind of harvest did you get today? Everyone has seen it. If you keep up the good work tomorrow, there will definitely be more gains. Don't worry, everyone will get rewards. Everyone work hard. Ha 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 ha. Long live Master Singer, long live the Singer family. The master is the best. As long as the master is here, there is nothing that can't be dug up. Ha 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 ha. Today's harvest is really huge, much larger than yesterday. If it continues like this, how much profit will be? Belsina is very much looking forward to how huge the profit will be after cleaning up the entire ruins. Even if not all the gold products are sold, only a small part of them will be sold, which is enough to alleviate the urgent need for cash of the character family. At that time, there will be no need to worry about money, and the business of the Singer family can be further improved. The gold products excavated from the ruins are the fuel for the Singer family to take off. With the income from this batch of gold products, who can stop the development and growth of the Singer family? Everything else is fake. Only with their own strength, no one can threaten the character family, plus their social status. The Singer family will never be lonely. Although it is impossible to grow into a behemoth like the Cheeble group, the days of wealth and prosperity, no worries about food and money are coming. Everyone cheered and vented their excitement. With such a large income, Belsinger was also very generous. He took out a box of several bottles of Erguo Tau liquor he brought, and everyone was divided into 2 teals. These high purity Chinese liquors are not those beers. If you don't drink liquor often, it's easy to get drunk, but today you can get drunk if you are happy. As long as everyone is happy, there is nothing wrong. After a lively dinner, everyone sat around the campfire, chatting and laughing, and it was more than 11 o'clock in the evening. Then I went back to the tent to sleep. The next day, I continued to work, and finally cleaned up the temple kitchen. That brought me unexpected gains. I cleaned out 3 more skeletons. Unfortunately, there was no more income from gold products. Gold products were also a treatment that only high-ranking people could enjoy. Because the excavated site was the kitchen, everything would be placed in the kitchen, and it was impossible to find gold tabloa. Everyone understood this. I thought that the kitchen would be over after the excavation, but I didn't expect that after the excavation of the kitchen, I actually found a hidden space behind the kitchen. This should be the storage room. Although it was filled with mud, only 1/3 was excavated, and many upside-down pottery jars were found. After opening the pottery jars, some spices mixed into mud were found, but the area of this storage room was too large. The excavation space was limited, and only 2 people could dig at the same time, so the progress was very slow, but the things obtained were getting more and more. But the door of the storage room and the door of the kitchen, the distance connected to the outside world exceeded 10 meters. It was too tiring to transport the excavated soil out with only rattan baskets, and the efficiency was very low. In addition, the old housekeeper had already found him several times and asked him to take the gold box and return to the new family's castle first. Putting this gold box in the family's underground storage room is the only way to ensure safety, otherwise it will be attacked. If this gold box is stolen, all the efforts of the family will be in vain, and the loss will be great. So Belsinger had to take the human mule Brook and the gold box back to Singer Castle first. That night, he handed the gold box to Lina and asked her to put it in the Singer family's underground storage room. Then he called Ivan, who stayed in the industrial park. He asked Vice President Ivan to quickly buy various raw materials and make 2 sets of the simplest conveyor belt equipment. These conveyor belts do not need to be very strong, but they can be disassembled and assembled. You can assemble a few meters if you want. The 2 people can make the conveyor belt run by hand, 1 in front and 1 behind, and then call Marbury, who is far away in Mumbai, to get in touch. Marbury also reported his work to him and found that the construction company that was planning to build the exhibition hall had already negotiated a cooperation agreement. The other party has sent someone to the Singh family with the renderings of the exhibition hall and is ready to meet with Belsing. As long as Belsing determines the design of the exhibition hall, the 2 parties can sign the contract and start construction immediately. In 4 or 5 days, the other party's people will arrive, which makes Belsing neither leave nor stay. If he leaves, he will come back in 2 days. However, if he does not go to the excavation of the ruins, he will not participate in it himself. It is a regret that cannot be made up. Watching the excavation of gold treasures and participating in the excavation of gold treasures are 2 concepts. Belsing is reluctant to give up such a rare experience. But you are reluctant. Is it important for the Singh family to prepare for the construction of the plastic products exhibition hall? This is an important part of the Indian version of Yewu. Without this exhibition hall, how can you introduce your products to customers? This is a face project, and you can't not participate, so Belsing is very entangled. He gritted his teeth, and could only stay at home, waiting for the other construction company to send him the renderings, and then the 2 sides talked about cooperation and specific costs. In addition to this good news, Marbury reported to Belsing that he was a college student salesperson for the Singh family's plastic products factory. Although the treatment and profit sharing provided by Belsinger to sales staff are already at a rare high level. However, the town of Sinja, where Belsinger is located, is too remote. It is just a small town in the mountains. How can it attract those high quality college students who have just graduated to work for you? Are you qualified? Therefore, the recruitment speed is very slow. So far, there are only 5 people. If you are willing to come to Sinja town and Singer Industrial Park to visit the scale and strength of Singer industry, if you cannot meet the requirements of studying these college students, you will be dumped immediately. But Singer has this confidence. As long as you see the scale of Singer industry, no one can refuse to cooperate with Singer industry. These top students who came out of the ivory tower are not good at their goals, but life will teach them how to face reality and abandon their unrealistic fantasies after 2 years. Life will smooth all their edges and corners, and then they will know the importance of money. What are you arrogant about? Do you have money? You are arrogant, but facing reality is the most important thing. The gap between reality and ideal is not something that these newly graduated college students can understand. At that time, they will actively beg the Singh family to give them jobs, but the Singh family does not want them yet. Chapter 286. Machines are stronger than humans. 5 is just 5. Slowly recruit them. When these people know that the world is difficult, they want to come to the new family to earn such high commissions and treatment. Sorry, you are not suitable. I don't want you. This is shameless. It will be too late to come down when life tortures them beyond human form. So Belsina told Marbury that, since the fresh graduates of the eldest and second sons don't want to come to the Zint family to work, don't hire them. Find those more reliable sales staff who already know that the world is difficult. They are the talents they need most. Instead of needing these proud sons of heaven, Marbury, who heard the boss's order, also knew that his boss was angry, but there was no way. Who made these newly graduated college students so arrogant? He was also angry, but in order to complete his boss's task, he had to swallow his anger and beg these college students to come to Sinja town for a visit. The scale of Singer Industrial Company, the environment, and the fact that I have been irritated enough these days. Since I have received the boss's understanding and instructions, what else can I say? It is more reliable to find college students who have graduated 2 or 3 years ago, rather than choosing fresh graduates who are arrogant. After hanging up the phone, Belsinger was worried and had a headache. He sat in his study, rubbing his temples and sighing. Fortunately, the 2 manpower conveyor belts he needed in the industrial park will take a few days to make. In order to hide the news and eliminate all hidden dangers, these conveyor belts must be transported by the servants and bodyguards of the Singer family. I can wait for 2 days. There is no choice but to stay at home. Besides, life in the jungle these days is too hard. It is understandable to enjoy 2 days at home, but Belsinger was not idle. While enjoying life at home, he began to raise various daily necessities to transport them into the mountains. Brooke, the human mule, fully exerted his talents and acted as the transport captain to complete the work he had assigned. Because he had already obtained very satisfactory returns, Belsina was extremely generous in transporting materials this time and transported all the good things into the mountains. He even extravagantly slaughtered a male dromedary that had completed the breeding task, which was a rare and luxurious meat. Camel meat was a top delicacy that could only be eaten during festivals. Unexpectedly, Belsina actually slaughtered a male camel and transported it into the mountains. These servants and subordinates who acted as tunnel rats improved their lives. This kind of extravagant behavior was simply unimaginable in normal times. 3 days later, Belsina received a call from Ivan in Singer Industrial Park. The content of the call was very simple. The construction company had come to the group company with the design drawings. Prepare to meet with Belsina, the boss, and the 2 sides will discuss the details of the cooperation. 4 days later, Belsina hurriedly said goodbye to several women in the family because after Belsina directed these contracts and drawings, he would choose to go up the mountain as soon as possible, and it might take more than 20 days to come out. If he didn't explain it clearly to the women in the family, they would worry. Then he hurried to the group company in an off-road vehicle and saw all the team members of the construction company that Marbury hired in a big city like Mumbai in Ivan's office. After the 2 sides met and exchanged greetings, Belsina looked at the other party's drawings. Because Marbury had expressed all his requirements in place, the design department of this construction company was also quite powerful. More than 5 exhibition halls made entirely of wood were designed, with various shapes and various clever designs. Just choose which one you see is beautiful and practical, and the price is right. Then make a contract and sign it, and construction will be guaranteed to start within a week. To be honest, these 5 renderings are very beautiful, the shapes are very novel, and the various facilities are also very complete. However, due to the details of the decoration and the price difference of the materials used, Belsinger finally chose a price with a medium-priced exhibition hall with a white sailboat shape. After choosing the exhibition hall with the shape of a sailboat, he watched all the design drawings of this building. After making some slight modifications to the details, the two sides signed a cooperation contract. The main raw materials for this exhibition hall were provided by the Singh family. The rest is all the responsibility of the construction company. Even so, the construction of this sailboat-shaped exhibition hall, the cost is more than 150 million rupees, which is not a small amount, almost accounting for 1/4 of the cash currently held by the Singh family. The money has not been spent less, but this exhibition hall is so beautiful that it can serve as a landmark building for the entire town of Sinjar. It can fully reflect the strong strength of the Singh Industrial Group. This is a face-saving project. Although it is expensive, you have to complete it. Then the two parties signed the contract. A week later, all the people of the construction company will come to the site of the foundation selected by the Sinj Industrial Park and start construction. At this time, the engineers of the construction company saw that the wood taken out of the mountains by the Singh family had met the regulations. It was just that the degree of dryness and wetness was lacking, so 2 dryers were transferred from Mumbai to dry these woods. The service life of the sailboat-shaped exhibition hall has reached 80 years. Of course, it is impossible to let it stand for 80 years, otherwise it would be too outdated. It is good enough to stand in the Singh Industrial Park for 50 years, which has reached the value of the exhibition hall. It took 2 days to finalize the details of the cooperation with the construction company and sign the contract. On the 3rd day, he quietly left the Singh Industrial Park with 2 human-driven conveyor belts. Just like he came in a hurry, he disappeared in an instant, causing the workers of the group company to talk about it, and they didn't know what their boss was busy with. The moment he entered the mountain, Bell had a feeling of rebirth, which was called letting the tiger return to the mountain. Finally, he let himself throw his arms and work hard. It took a lot of effort to arrive at the site of the ruins. It was already noon on the 2nd day. In other words, after a difficult trek in the mountains and forests for a day and a half to arrive at the excavation site, Bell was already exhausted. Because the 2 conveyor belts are all iron products, it's hard to move these heavy iron products in the mountains and forests. The family servants who had to use machetes to clear the way through the mountains and rivers were already exhausted. As a master, I couldn't just stand by and watch. I also participated in the transportation work. You can imagine that Belsinger, who is so delicate and tender, can suffer this. It would be strange if he didn't work hard. But no matter what, Belsinger persisted and came to the excavation site alive. Although the 2 conveyor belts are driven by manpower, one on top and one on the bottom, they work together to transport the soil. But with the addition of these 2 machines, it is much more powerful than manual labor, and it is also much more labor saving and speedy. The workload has increased several times immediately. The machine is better than people. Even though it is manually operated, it is much better than people. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 287, Great Harvest 1. With 2 machines, it is indeed much more powerful than manual labor. This Buddhist relic is located in a valley surrounded by mountains. Because of the flood that broke out thousands of years ago, the stones and soil on the mountain have submerged the entire relic to the roof. Even if you dig down and dig deeper and deeper, it is very troublesome to get the soil up. You can only use a small basket made of rattan to transport it up little by little, which is time consuming, labor intensive. With these 2 conveyor belts, one is placed in the kitchen ruins to help with the excavation work, and the other is placed on the periphery of the temple ruins. It takes 2 people to cooperate at the same time for one conveyor belt to be completed, one on top and the other below, to shake the handle vigorously. In this way, the conveyor runs little by little here, and all the excavated soil is transported up. Then put the soil in the sieve for screening to see if there are some small gold, silver and jewelry mixed in it. With the addition of these 2 conveyor belts, the work efficiency has increased by at least 80%, allowing more people to participate in the excavation work. Therefore, the work efficiency is very high, and with high work efficiency, the rewards obtained will naturally increase a lot. Although Indian Buddhism advocates frugality, it is not as extravagant as Hinduism, and likes to use gold for everything. Wearing gold and silver, eating well and living well. Although it is very simple, it is a religion created in the general environment of India. It must be different from other places. Even Buddhists wear gold rings, gold earrings, or gold necklaces. Indians love gold, and they love it to the bone. Even Buddhists are not immune. Therefore, although the gold treasures excavated, mainly those worn by those who lost Muslims, there are rarely such luxurious treasures as this set of gold tabla in the kitchen, but the number is enough. 180 pieces are excavated every day. After being cleaned up, they are placed in boxes in different categories. There are many types of these gold rings, gold earrings, and gold necklaces. However, 80% of them are inlaid with various jewels, most of which are rubies and sapphires produced in India, and there are also some jade or jade. The shape of each jewel is very beautiful, reflecting the highest casting level at that time. Of course, these individual jewels cannot be successful just for one series, because it varies from person to person. For example, the rings are big and small, and the necklaces are thick and thin. In addition to these, what excited Belsina the most was that a lot of wooden boxes were excavated in a stone building that looked like a dormitory. Although the boxes were all rotten in the mud hundreds of years ago, and the various knitted clothes inside were also turned into mud. But I didn't expect that many weapons and armors were excavated in this dormitory-like house, among which there was a set of weapons and armor made of gold, which was the most luxurious. It was inlaid with various gems, especially the pure gold scimitar that matched the gold armor. It was so beautiful and luxurious, not much worse than the dowry provided by the Shah family when I got married, and it was even more precious. How could these weapons and armor appear in the temple? You know, let alone thousands of years. Even the clergy of those temples hundreds of years ago, their status in society is also very high. Even if there are bandits and bullies, they dare not bully the clergy because they are afraid of going to hell after death. Then they will continue to be poor and oppressed in the next life. So the clergy in the Indian subcontinent will not be in any danger of life under normal circumstances. How could there be weapons and armor in the Buddhist temple? This puzzled Belsina, and the final conclusion was, it is possible that the owner of this set of golden armor is a general or a noble who came to the temple with his guards to worship. Then he lived in this guest room, but it rained heavily that night, and a flash flood broke out, and finally all died here. This can only be explained. Otherwise you can't explain why there are weapons and armor such as combat tools in the temple. But no matter what, the appearance of this set of golden armor has made Belsina's income rise sharply, just like a snowball that grows little by little. This set of golden armor includes a helmet, a chest armor, a back armor, a skirt, and arm guards and leg guards. It can be said that it is a full set of protection, and there is also a set of bows and arrows made of pure gold. Although the bowstring has rotted, the golden bow is well preserved and inlaid with various gems. There are a total of 30 golden arrows equipped with the golden bow and arrow. The wooden arrow shaft is rotten, and the feathers on the arrow are also rotten. But the golden arrowhead was well preserved and was placed in the leather bag. There was also a golden spear. The wooden shaft of the spear had rotted away, leaving only the head and the long hairy tail of the spear. The last thing left was the golden scimitar. Even after so many years, the blade was still very sharp, and it was effortless to use it to cut any object. This set of golden armor, plus the matching weapons, is much more valuable than the set of golden dinner plates. The most conservative estimate is that it is worth $50 million. If those European nobles were allowed to participate in the auction, these wealthy nobles would definitely flock to it. This set of golden armor is luxurious and beautiful, but this set of armor is limited to boosting moral or decorative purposes. If it is not used in actual combat, it would have been chopped into meat paste by others. Wearing this set of golden armor and appearing on the battlefield, wouldn't it be a big fat sheep? If the general wearing such a precious set of armor is killed, will his reward be less? It also has greater symbolic significance than practical use. But no matter what, it is much more valuable than those tin can armors in Europe, and of course it is also much more popular. Those nobles who are not short of money will flock to it. Anyway, the more money you can sell it for, the better it is for you. Of course, this set of golden armor is too luxurious and too rare. It may be the only set of golden armor in the world. Its collection value is definitely greater than the auction proceeds. So when it is absolutely necessary, Belsina will not plan to sell this set of golden armor and put it in his own collection room. It is also good to take it out and appreciate it from time to time. Of course, Belsina does not know whether the previous owner of this set of golden armor has been on the battlefield, whether he has worn this set of armor or not, and whether the owner of this set of armor has died on the battlefield. Indians are particularly taboo about this, so they generally do not choose to touch the things of the dead. Especially the masters of the upper castes are even more taboo about touching the things of the dead, so the person who cleans this set of golden armor is a steward of the veterans. It can be placed at home, but it will never be touched. After having this priceless golden armor, the excavation work did not go smoothly, as if it was cursed. A lot of bones of the claymen were excavated, but there were very few valuable things. Isn't it weird? Chapter 288, Great Harvest 2. Although this set of golden armor is priceless, the amount of gold treasure that Belsina wants is definitely not just this little bit. I feel that this set of golden armor is not enough to satisfy my appetite, but as if it was cursed, after the golden armor was unearthed, nothing valuable was found for 3 consecutive days. When Belsina got up early in the morning, it was already raining outside, and the rain was quite heavy. This made the excavation work very difficult. It was originally humid, and the excavated soil was in lumps. It needs to be broken open little by little to see if there are some small items hidden inside. Now it is raining, and it is still moderate rain. By then, the excavation site will become a big mud pit. So when he had breakfast this morning, Belsina was still absent-minded. He put down the plate in his hand after eating 2 bites. While drinking tea, he looked at the sky covered with dark clouds inside, which made the old housekeeper feel very distressed. With the smooth progress of the excavation of this Buddhist site, the supply of materials has been fully guaranteed. In addition, the Singh family is not short of money, so of course the things transported to the mountain are the best. Seeing that his master had no appetite, the old butler took out a bunch of bananas as big as a child's arm from the box where fruits were placed. Then he broke off one and put it in Belsina's hand with a smile and asked, "What's wrong? The master has no appetite today. Is he sick?" Belsina knew that the old butler was concerned about his health. He was the backbone of the Dinge family. If he lost his spirit, everyone in the family would be affected. Even if he had no appetite, couldn't eat, and was worried, he couldn't show it in front of the old butler, because the old butler was really not easy. At such an old age, he stayed in the forest with him and suffered inhuman treatment. He couldn't cause trouble for the old butler anymore, so he forced himself to eat the banana while picking it up, and then said with a smile, "Don't worry, butler, I'm fine. I'm just worried that the rain is getting heavier today, which will increase the difficulty of the excavation work. By then, the excavation pit will become a fish pond, with mud everywhere, and even the 2 conveyor belts can't solve this problem." The old butler couldn't help but shake his head when he heard it, and said with a wry smile, "Master, this is God's will, and we humans can't contend with it. We can only choose to adapt to it. In fact, it's not a bad thing. You have to think about it in a positive way, even though it has become a quagmire. But it's much more convenient to excavate, and screening can be done more quickly, which can save a lot of manpower and increase the speed." Belsina shook his head with a wry smile and sighed. "Then Mr. Butler, tell the human flesh Elios Brook to make preparations now. Replace the wicker baskets used to transport the soil with buckets of water, and get the mud out of the cave." The old butler laughed and said, "I have already ordered them to do so. Don't worry, sir. If you feel unwell, I will rest in the tent. I will find you if there is anything." Belsina nodded, took his thermos, and turned back to his tent. Lying on the bed, listening to the sound of rain outside, sighing, "Why is my luck so bad? Give yourself another half a month or so, and you can completely excavate all the Buddhist relics." Now I didn't expect it to start raining again. It was sunny 2 days ago, and now it's raining again. The rainy season is really annoying. Just listening to the crackling rain, I fell asleep again in a daze, and suddenly I felt someone whispering in my ear. When he opened his eyes, he saw the old butler looking at him with a smile, which made Belsina at a loss. He asked blankly with his big eyes wide open, "Is it time for lunch? Anyway, I don't have much appetite. Let me sleep for a while, and you can eat by yourselves." The old butler knew that Singh was not in a good mood, but he had the secret to make his master excited, so he said with a smile, "Master, it's just 11 o'clock in the afternoon, it's still early for lunch. I came to see you because there was a major discovery of the excavation site in the west of the city, you know." Belsina sat up from the bed and said with a frown while smoking, "How could I not know? Since the excavation work in the west of the city got on track, there has been no big harvest. Others have dug out gold tabla and gold armor, but the team in the west of the city has only dug out 6 tiny gold rings, and there are no gems on it. It has become the laughing stock of the excavation site. How could I not know? That's right, it is the laughing stock of all the teams at the excavation site. Other teams have made great gains, but the west of the city has been silent. There are many people, but the things dug out can be said to be negligible. Every time there is a dinner party, the west of the city has become the object of everyone's jokes." Hearing that the west of the city has made a huge harvest, Belsina felt very incredible and asked with wide eyes, "Old housekeeper, don't tell me that the west of the city has made huge profits. Although the stone buildings in the west of the city are large in size, they may be some warehouses for storing grain and vegetables. What can be harvested?" The old housekeeper laughed at this time and sat on the bedside of Belsina. He took a cigarette out of Bel's character cigarette box, lit it, took a puff, and then said with a smile, "Master, we are right. Innovation is a warehouse area, but it is impossible that the warehouse area is full of food and vegetables. It is also possible that the gifts offered by Buddhist believers are all stored in the warehouse, and it rained heavily today. But the stone buildings in the warehouse area are also very large, and only a small part of them are wet, so the excavation speed is very fast. Guess what they found? What they found is very obvious. They found precious things that Buddhist believers gathered together for simple meals. These things are dedicated to the Buddha. Unexpectedly, these Buddhists put them in the warehouse for their own use. This is also one of the incomes of Buddhist temples, and it accounts for a large proportion. Because Buddhists are not producers, where do they get so much money to buy daily necessities? Isn't it donated by believers? Unexpectedly, the warehouse where believers donated things was excavated. This is an extraordinary discovery. Belsina was excited all of a sudden, put on his slippers excitedly, and walked around in the tent. After smoking a cigarette, he clapped his hands, picked up the raincoat on the shelf, and put it on, and then pulled the old housekeeper and trotted out of his tent. He planned to go to the warehouse area in the west of the city to see how big the warehouse with the huge harvest was and how many things were inside. Because the road was slippery due to the rain and Belsina was walking too fast, the old butler who was dragged almost fell twice, crawling and rolling around in the mud, and finally arrived at the warehouse area in the west of the city. Chapter 289, Great Harvest 3. Because the west of the city is the warehouse area, and when the flash flood broke out near the foot of the mountain, the warehouse area was the first to be hit. If all the buildings in the warehouse area were not made of hundreds of kilograms of stones, they would have been razed to the ground by the flash floods and mudslides. Even so, there would be no more than a dozen well-preserved warehouse area buildings. The places chosen for excavation in the past 2 days were all those warehouse buildings destroyed by mudslides. Because there are many stones, the excavation speed is very slow. In addition, there are not many people guarding the warehouses, and it is even more impossible for the temple leaders to live in the warehouse area. Therefore, the benefits obtained are relatively small. It can be said that this is the most difficult and tiring position in the entire site excavation work. I didn't expect that there would be a huge harvest today. It was still the warehouses buried by the mudslides, and the hundreds of kilograms of large stones were moved out bit by bit. Then drilled in like a mouse digging a hole, just like mining underground, and all the valuable soil or things were loaded in wicker baskets and transported out. Because the warehouses in the warehouse area were destroyed by mudslides, it was easy to fall off and hurt people if the inside was hollowed out. So a few days ago, Belsinger had replaced the mine excavation method and chose to uncover the mine. Anyway, he did not plan to develop this Buddhist site into a tourist area, so there was no need to preserve its original appearance. The safety of the personnel was the priority, so he uncovered it. Such a crude mining method destroyed the site, which could be said to be irreversible, but the excavation progress was the fastest. 2 people stumbled to the excavation site. A dozen strong workers wearing only trousers were digging the soil soaked by rain. Several broken jars were placed on the stone. These jars were very ordinary, but the things inside the jars made Belsinger feel ecstatic. These jars were all the most common pottery jars, ordinary dark red. Although they were broken in half, they were filled with round and shiny gold coins. Belsinger sat on the stone, put half of the jar in his arms, touched the gold coins on it, and looked at them one by one. He laughed as he watched, because Belsinger had seen this gold coin before, and stored several of them. It was a gold coin minted in the early days of the Mughal dynasty, the last unified central dynasty in India. The gold content was high and the wear and tear of the gold coin was brand new. The value of each gold coin would definitely exceed thousands of dollars. The number of gold coins in the half-broken jar in his arms reached 150 in total. Yes, all gold coins. There was no silver coin or copper coin. The value of these 150 gold coins would definitely exceed 150,000 US dollars. This was a huge income, and seeing that only about 2 square meters of area had been dug out, there was such a big surprise. With so many gold coins, if all were dug out, it would be a big deal. Could it be that this warehouse destroyed by the mudslide was the location of the temple's vault? Thinking about it, this warehouse was close to the 2 mountains, and was the innermost building of the entire temple. It was possible that it was used as a vault. Belsinger was excited, and his depression for the whole morning was swept away. He laughed foolishly, while holding half a jar of gold coins. This made the old butler beside him very happy. The master raised their spirits, and his men would work harder. If the master is listless, it will also affect everyone's mood, right? Seeing that the master was happy, the old butler said excitedly, "Master, you also saw it at the scene. We have just excavated less than 1% of the area, and we had such a big harvest. If all of it is excavated, it will be a good thing. If our guess is correct, this stone building is the location of the vault. In that case, the excavation of this ruins will definitely be a treasure level income." Belsinger nodded and said with a smile, "Yes, if hundreds of thousands of gold coins are excavated, it can be called a gold treasure." But Belsinger didn't feel happy for a while, before he began to worry, and his face fell again, which made the old butler feel very incredible. Why was he so happy just now, and now he is worried again? Because it was raining at the scene, and there was mud and water flowing in the excavation pit. The dozen servants working inside had become mudmen. The scene was very noisy, and not suitable for conversation. At this time, the old butler pulled up Belsinger, who was sitting on the stone, and turned 3 or 2 to a resting place that the workers had dug out 2 days ago. It was one of the only 3 intact buildings in the entire warehouse area, because 1/3 of the area was excavated, but nothing was found. So the workers used this intact warehouse as a temporary resting place, and planned to move this intact warehouse last after all the relics were excavated. Entering the warehouse, it was relatively clean. The butler wiped a folding chair with his sleeves, and asked the master to sit down. Then he sat on the side, and asked with a frown. Master was very happy just now. Why are you worried again now? If there is anything that is difficult to solve, you can discuss it with me. Don't carry it alone. Bell smiled bitterly, took out the cigarette in his pocket, and gave it to the old butler, and said that he should light it himself. Old butler, who do you think I am? Am I such a sentimental person? The reason why you are silent is that, if the gold coins dug out from this vault reach hundreds of thousands, our profit will definitely not be as high as we estimated before. The old butler was also a shrewd man. When he heard what Belsinger said, he frowned and sighed. Master, you are right. Scarcity makes things valuable. Now, the price is very high because the number of gold coins minted during the Mull reign is scarce. But hundreds of thousands of Mull gold coins flooding into the market will cause the price of gold coins to plummet. The profit will definitely not be as great as we estimated before. This is an indisputable fact. Belsinger smiled bitterly and nodded. That's why I was worried about the gold coins before. It was because the Mull dynasty was ruled by Islamists. All the nobles are also believers of Islam, so after the overthrow of the dynasty, all the currencies were recycled. It is so valuable because there are so few in existence, but the fluctuations caused by the investment of hundreds of thousands of gold coins in the market, can it be small? The old butler suddenly had an idea and said to Singh with a smile, Master, are we thinking too much? It has not been excavated yet, and only God knows how much profit it can make. Even if there is an income of hundreds of thousands of gold coins, we can slowly sell them and disperse them across the country. When the market reacts, we can at least sell about 200,000 gold coins. Then we can just store the remaining gold coins. It's a bit too early to get anxious now. Chapter 290, Great Harvest 4. As the saying goes, if you don't plan for the future, you will have immediate worries. In order to make the Singer family develop in the long run and gain the greatest benefits, Belsinger can be said to have exhausted all his efforts. It is indeed a little early, but we cannot ignore the consequences, so Belsinger shook his head and said with a wry smile, we can only do as you said. We will sell part of it secretly. When the price of gold coins drops, we will stop selling. At most, we can melt these gold coins into gold bars and store them in the underground vault for emergency use. The old butler agreed with this very much. He raised his hands and smiled and said, I also think so. Great minds think alike. The master and I have the same idea. At most, we can melt them into gold bars and put them in the vault for emergency use. It's enough to have enough money to spend. Why do you need so much? It's better to store gold. Because gold is the precious metal used all over the world. With gold reserves, we can rest assured. It doesn't matter whether the money depreciates or not. Although he said so, his ambition is not just this little bit. The funds spent on an Indian version of Yewu small commodity city are hundreds of millions. If I really succeed in building this Indian version of Yewu, how much money will I spend? A few $100 million is a small investment. Where does so much money come from? How can so much money come from not selling things? Just like a landlord, melt gold into gold bars and store them in your own home. Although insurance can avoid many financial risks. But what is the difference between this and a fat sheep? If those politicians and military leaders know how rich they are, they can find any reason, or even no reason, to put me to death and seize my property successfully. What is the difference between reasoning with those powerful people and suicide? I will not be a fat sheep, I will be a tiger. A tiger that can hurt people will be rich and powerful at that time. Let's see who dares to bully me. With the development and progress of society, how long can my identity as a high-caste Kshatriya protect me? Belsinger is very clear about this. Seeing the old butler's confident look, Belsinger did not say it clearly, but suppressed his thoughts in his heart, and said with a smile, Old butler, the rain outside is getting lighter, and the warehouse, where the gold vault is found, is also likely to be the location of the vault. I'm relieved to find an excavator. Should we transfer all the people here? The old butler thought that it was really the case, so he wanted to stand up from the stone, but he didn't expect that his feet slipped, and people's instinct was to stretch out their arms. He wanted to hold the wall to prevent himself from falling, but he didn't expect the old butler to stretch out his arms and pile up on the wall formed by the mud behind him, and then heard a bang. The old butler and the mud wall fell to the ground. When Belsinger reacted and saw the scene after the chaos, he was so surprised that he almost popped his eyes out. The warehouse was all stone buildings, and when the flood broke out on the top of the mountain, the mud covered the warehouse. Although the warehouse did not collapse, only 1/3 of the mud inside was cleared out, forming a rest area where many stone workers could sit and rest. Unexpectedly, the old housekeeper pushed a big hole in the thick soil layer, and the thickness of the soil layer was less than 20 centimeters. That is to say, the workers dug out 1/3 of the warehouse and originally thought that the back 2/3 was all solid soil, but unexpectedly the back 2/3 was empty and only 20 centimeters of distance was not dug through, but it was unexpectedly slapped through by the old housekeeper. The old housekeeper who lost his support and the soil he had tapped all fell to the ground. Fortunately, there were many dead branches and leaves in the soil, so the weight of the soil is very light. Otherwise the old housekeeper at such an old age would not be able to slap a hole in a 20 centimeter thick earth wall with one slap. Now he is lying on the ground groaning and unable to get up, and his body is full of soil. This is too much. Unexpectedly, the old housekeeper was so lucky that he slapped the soil layer of a warehouse. Then people with a little common sense in life will raise some questions. The mudslide broke out on the mountain, although this warehouse was built with very heavy stones. But can stones and mudslides compete? The mudslide broke through the wooden door and entered the warehouse in a fan-shaped distribution, sweeping everything. So why was 2/3 of this stone warehouse not hit by the mudslide? That's because there is a section of stone wall inside that prevents the damage of the mudslide. In other words, this large stone warehouse is divided into 2 layers of stone walls. Inner and outer 1/3 of the area at the gate may be used to place other things. The other 2/3 of the area is protected by a stone wall. The mudslide was blocked by this poem wall, so it did not impact inside. This is equivalent to the difference between the inner room and the outer room. There is a wall and a door between the living room and the bedroom to ensure that the warehouse is not affected by the mudslide. Unexpectedly, as time went by, the soil became more and more solid, and the moisture became less and less, and a gap was formed between the soil and the second stone wall. In addition, the servants of the character family did not dig through, but unexpectedly, the old housekeeper slapped it through. Because the 2 people were sitting in the center of the warehouse, 20 centimeters away from the place where they passed was a dark red metal door. Because the metal surface was already rusty and dark red, I didn't expect that the door inside was actually cast iron. The second stone wall gate was able to block the mudslide. The iron door is always stronger than the wooden door. At this time, the old butler groaned and stretched out a hand. He turned around and saw the dazed grandfather and said with a smile, "Master, can you get me out first, and then daze? I fell down with my old arms and legs, and so much mud hit me. It hurts, master. Am I injured? Should I go to the hospital?" Hearing that the old butler could still joke, Belsina laughed and squatted beside the old butler, dug the soil with his hands, and then helped the old butler up, patting his shoulder and said, "Your strength is amazing. You slapped through the 20 centimeter thick wall with one slap. Those workers are really out of their minds. They were only 20 centimeters away from digging the pit, but they chose to give up. They are really ignorant. Seeing that you can still joke, it proves that you are not injured. Why go to the hospital? Old housekeeper, don't worry about your own body. Let's see what is in front of us. A metal door and a solid wall. What's behind it? Is it the location of another vault?" The old housekeeper sat up from the soil and saw the rusty metal door with only 20 centimeters between them and the thick stone wall. It felt incredible. After getting up from the ground, he gently knocked on the rusty metal door. Hearing the echo, he was very convinced. Then he turned around and said to Belle in surprise, "Master didn't expect that this door was cast iron, and the thickness reached 20 centimeters, which made people feel incredible. The smelting technology thousands of years ago can make such a solid cast iron door. It's incredible, isn't it? Was there such technology thousands of years ago?" Chapter 291, Smash It Open. That's right. The casting level of iron products in the past thousands of years has not reached the current level, let alone the casting of this cast iron gate weighing several tons. It is erected in the warehouse of the temple. Could it be that my judgment is wrong? The ruins of this temple were not destroyed thousands of years ago, but were destroyed by a sudden flood hundreds of years ago. This analysis is correct, because since Belsing discovered this Buddhist site, he has launched a crazy excavation. However, no relevant text introduction has been excavated. Belsing is not an archaeologist or a geologist, and it is even more impossible to know the most accurate time of the decline of this temple. It is only because of the degree of decline of the temple that he thought it was thousands of years. It is possible that this temple has just declined. This is also uncertain a few hundred years ago, because there is no text unearthed, and no one knows what happened. But when he saw this cast iron gate, when he saw the brass lock on the gate, that was as big as a coconut, Belsing knew it. He was even sure that the temple would not have suffered a catastrophe for more than 600 years. It is possible that the time was shorter. In addition to the gold coins from the Mughal period excavated this morning, Belsing was more certain. This temple site must be a building from the Mughal dynasty. Of course, the rulers of the Mughal dynasty were the upper class, and all the upper nobles were also followers of Buddhism. In the previous generations, the emperors were very strict about religion, and the emperors of the later generations gradually adopted a tolerant attitude towards other religions. However, all the ruling classes were followers of Buddhism, and Hindus were relegated to the lowest position. The declining Buddhism was able to survive because it was in this deep mountain forest. When the dynasty adopted a tolerant attitude towards religious issues, it developed and grew. No wonder a set of golden armor was dug out. No wonder it was so luxurious. At this time, the problem came. This stone warehouse was built so solidly, and there were 2 gates and a cast iron gate that was locked. What's inside the gate? Is it really a vault? This is also very possible. Because the entire temple site has not been excavated so far, and no Buddha statues made of gold have been found, which is disproportionate to the extravagant style at the time. Where did all those golden Buddha statues go? Wasn't he the first discoverer of this relic? Hundreds of years ago, someone discovered this Buddhist site and then excavated it. They took away all the gold Buddha statues and picked up some leftovers to eat. It doesn't seem like it. The entire temple site is flat, and there are no pits or bags excavated, so many clues are piled up together. It proves that it is possible that the second stone wall of this place with a cast iron gate is very solid, and the warehouse is the location of the vault. This analysis can be said to be well founded. Belsina and the old butler present are both very skilled. With this analysis, the 2 people were so excited that they trembled all over. Looking at this cast iron gate was like seeing a beautiful woman. Their eyes were red and their saliva almost flowed down. What is behind the gate? Is it a mountain of gold statues? Is it a mountain of gold coins and gold utensils? With the discovery of this warehouse, why are we still digging in the quagmire formed by the warehouse ruins outside? Wouldn't it be better to just open this warehouse? There is nothing inside. When the 2 people reacted, the old butler said excitedly, "Master, please wait here for a while. I'll go call for help. It's still raining outside. Don't catch a cold." The old butler was about to turn around and go out, but was stopped by Belsina. After thinking for a while, he told the butler, "Old butler, when you call for help, organize the best soldiers, and bring digging tools. In particular, all the tools used to deal with the iron gate in the work must be brought, otherwise we can only break through the wall." The old butler looked back at the cast iron gate weighing several tons, and said to Belsina with a smile, "Master, your idea is good, but we don't have any metal cutting tools. It seems that we can only break through the wall with a sledgehammer. Besides, this metal gate is already rusty. What's the point of using it? It's better to break through the wall, don't you think?" Okay. Belsina could only reluctantly nod in agreement, and at the same time he felt very uncomfortable in his heart. It takes hundreds or thousands of years to form a civilization, but it only takes a few years of war to destroy a civilization. Destruction is always faster than construction. Many ancient monuments of civilization were destroyed in this way, but there is nothing I can do. If you don't have a tool to cut metal, can you bite it with your teeth? Although this cast iron gate is rusty, it is very strong. It may not be blown open with a grenade, and it can't be broken without metal oxygen cutting. Is it because this metal gate is blocking the way that I can't see what is inside? My curiosity can't stand it, so I can only destroy the wall. Seeing the old butler walk out in the rain, Belsina was anxious to turn around in the warehouse, and waited for more than 10 minutes. The old butler came to the warehouse with a large number of people. At this time, the human flesh Rosebrook came over with a smile, while holding his torn towel, and wiping the rain on his head. "Master is so lucky. I didn't expect to find such a big secret when I came to this warehouse, to take shelter from the rain. What is behind the warehouse?" Belsina looked at the human flesh mule Brooke expressionlessly, which made Brooke a little scared, and then said with a smile, "I also want to know what's behind the wall. It could be the hidden vault of the temple, which is full of gold treasures. To satisfy the master's curiosity, I can only rely on you. Take the sledgehammer and break a hole in this wall for me, so that we can go in." The human mule Brooke had no other skills but strength. He could hit wherever the master pointed. His own master actually said so. What was there to be polite about? He spat on his palm twice, and then the 10-pound hammer handed over by his subordinates behind him came to the second layer of the wall, and swung it up and hit it. With one hammer, the loose soil around it, which had not been dug clean, collapsed. The warehouse was filled with smoke and miasma. Fortunately, the weight of the soil was not large, and the small amount did not bury the human mule Brooke alive. The boy still stood there swinging the sledgehammer, shouting slogans while swinging the sledgehammer. But because the top 10 was too thick and the stone was too hard, the stone that was smashed down by a hammer was not as big as a fist. Even if it was a human Rose Brooke, he was full of strength, but he was a human, not an excavator. After smashing dozens of times, he was exhausted and panting, so he had to replace the other 2 people to continue smashing. No matter how solid the stone is, it is not as hard as steel. I can bite a hole in it piece by piece with my teeth. On average, one person was replaced every 3 minutes. After more than 10 minutes of hammering, a hole as big as a fist was found, but when I looked inside the hole, it was pitch black, and I couldn't see anything. Chapter 292, Strange Fragrance. When a hole was smashed in the solid stone wall, everyone gathered around the hole and stretched their necks to look inside. But it was pitch black inside and nothing could be seen. At this time, Belsinger was behind everyone. In front of him were all heads and nothing could be seen. Bell was so anxious that he jumped up and cursed. "Fuck, can you bastards move back? I can't see anything. All the heads are scattered. If anyone dares not to listen, I will kick his ass." At this time, everyone reacted and gathered around the stone wall, digging out their own masters and their own owners. Of course, the people at the back who were squeezed couldn't see anything. Besides, what's the point of being here in the dark warehouse? You can't see anything. So they quickly made way for the master to see what was different about this dark warehouse up close. After everyone had moved away, Belsinger finally saw the scene inside. To be honest, he couldn't see anything. He shook his head in disappointment and turned around to shout at the old butler who was standing at the door. "It's dark inside, butler. I can't see anything. Hurry up and organize people to go back and ask for a flashlight. I want to see what's inside. What are you guys still waiting for? Blow the sledgehammer for me, but be careful not to let the rocks fall inside. If you break my treasure, who can afford to pay for it?" The old butler quickly ordered Brooke, who was a human flesh, to run over and ask for a flashlight. The rest of the people started to smash with sledgehammers, but there were still mistakes after all the calculations. Before the flashlight was retrieved, a servant with a sledgehammer was heard to smash it. A large piece of stone fell into the warehouse, and then it was heard. Clatter. The sound was particularly harsh in this quiet warehouse area, as if some very thin jars were broken. Then, the sound of running water was heard. The moment the sound came out, all the dozen people present stopped their work, especially the servant who was swinging the sledgehammer. Knowing that he had gotten into trouble, he fell to the side holding the sledgehammer like a girl who was about to be violated, looking at everyone in horror. Just now, his master Belsinger had repeatedly warned him not to let the broken stones jump in to hurt those priceless treasures, but someone did it. After a big stone jumped in, he heard a clattering sound, and he didn't know what was broken. It stands to reason that, if it was a gold treasure, those things were made of gold, and were very solid. Even if the stone flew in, it would not be possible to break these gold statues. Besides, even if the gold statues were broken, the sound could not be like a jar, and there was also the sound of running water. Could there be water in the statues? Everyone who heard the sound was dumbfounded, and naturally, the back of their heads turned back to look at Belsinger, who had become a statue. Standing there stupidly, Bell turned around little by little, blinked a few times, and asked everyone who was looking at him, "Why are you looking at me? What was that sound just now?" It was over. The master was so angry that even a 5-year-old child could hear the sound of a jar breaking. But the master hadn't reacted yet and was so angry that he chose to forget what the sound was. Everyone looked at him in horror as if they had seen a ghost. Belsinger scratched his chicken coop-like hair and felt something was wrong. He tilted his head and just wanted to think about it, but Belsinger smelled a faint fragrance from his particularly sensitive nose. Then he sniffed unconsciously, like a hound sniffing around, and then approached the hole that was smashed little by little and sniffed it. Belsinger closed his eyes involuntarily, as if he was very comfortable, and hummed from his mouth. It smells so good. Is it the smell of wine? Everyone, hurry up and smell it. Is it the smell of wine, or is my nose wrong? Although their noses are not as good and sensitive as their masters. But none of them have rhinitis, so of course they can smell the smell. The reason why they didn't react is that they are highly nervous and afraid that their master will get angry, so they didn't smell it. What kind of smell is permeating the space? Now after the master's reminder, they sniffed their noses vigorously. They really smelled some different smells, and everyone couldn't help but gather around Belsinger. They all closed their eyes and stretched their noses and then carefully sniffed the smells around them. At this time, everyone opened their eyes in horror and looked at the master, talking at once. Master, master, what you said just now is the smell of wine, and it is very fragrant. It's strange. How can there be such a fragrant wine in this black warehouse? Could it be that a wine jar was broken just now? Isn't this nonsense? It's not the smell of wine, but the smell of spices. If the spices had turned into mud hundreds of years ago, the incense was really too fragrant, and what he smelled was a memory hidden in the deepest part of Belsinger's mind. That was the smell of Chinese liquor, and it was a strong soju. The smell of soju. Yes, the smell of soju. And it was mixed with some plant smells, a complex aroma. What on earth was it? Belsinger was scratching his head and jumping up and down anxiously. After several minutes, Brooke, the human flesh LUO, came back panting, with more than a dozen flashlights, and Belsinger couldn't wait any longer. He went forward and grabbed 2 flashlights, then ran back lonely, broke the hole in the wall, turned on the flashlight, and looked inside. Guess what he saw? Rows of wooden shelves, and these wooden shelves were placed just across the door and the wall. In other words, these wooden shelves were placed horizontally. After entering from the door, you can see rows of wooden shelves, and all the shelves are filled with jars of different sizes. The only difference between these jars and the ceramic jars that hold gold coins outside is that they are glazed, which makes them much more valuable than those jars. They are very suitable for holding various liquids because they are breathable, but the liquid inside the jar will not evaporate, making them the most suitable container for wine. Rows of shelves are filled with jars of all sizes. The surface of the broken jar is wet, and there is a hole as big as a fist 30 centimeters from the hole. Everyone who sees the scene swallows their saliva. Seeing the rows of wooden shelves in front of them, there are 5 layers of wine jars and bottles of all sizes leaning against each other. Even if you are stupid, you know that this is not an underground treasure house hiding the golden statue, but a wine cellar. Chapter 293, Incredible Wine Cellar. No wonder everyone was dumbfounded. How could they not be dumb? Although everyone is a Hindu, India is the birthplace of Buddhism. Everyone has some understanding of Buddhism. Although the rules and regulations for monks in Indian Buddhism are not as strict as those in mainland China. But Buddhists are Buddhists after all. Even onions and garlic are not allowed to be eaten. How can monks in temples be allowed to drink? If drinking is not allowed, then where does the wine in this wine cellar come from? This is too much. A wine cellar was actually found in a Buddhist temple, and the wine is still so fragrant. It seems that it can only emit such an attractive fragrance after 100 years of aging. This is India, not Japan. Monks who have left home are not allowed to drink alcohol or eat meat, let alone marry. Unlike Japanese Buddhist temples, there are no taboos. Are they still monks if they are allowed to do anything? Everyone is confused. Is it because I'm too shallow and don't understand the rules and regulations of Buddhism? Or is it because the Buddhist temples hundreds of years ago were not as strict as they are now? I can't figure it out. I really can't figure it out, but I don't think about it if I can't figure it out. No matter what the reason is, it is very rare to find this underground wine cellar. The smell of these wines aroused Belsina's greed. There is no time to think about the temple. Why did he find the wine cellar? This contradictory question. There is no time to care about these things. Looking at the piles of wooden shelves in front of him, there are all kinds of jars and bottles of wine of all sizes. Not to mention an old drunkard like Belsina. Even the servants couldn't help but swallow their saliva. They almost drooled because it was too fragrant. This is a treasure house for drunkards. This is a paradise for drunkards. At this time, Belsina couldn't help but giggle. His saliva was flowing down, and he finally sobered up. Then he wiped it and looked back at everyone and said excitedly, "What are you guys waiting for? Smash it for me. Even a dog can't get through this hole. How can I get through it? Smash it open quickly, but be careful. Don't break another wine jar, or I'll strangle you to death. Hurry up and act." With the experience just now, everyone began to become cautious. Everyone took off their remaining pants. Bare buttocks and pants pulled together, blocked the big hole, and then knocked it bit by bit. The stones outside the hole were blocked by the cloth made of pants, so the stones couldn't jump in. Of course, a dozen big men swinging sledgehammers with bare buttocks was a bit incongruous, but we were all grown men, so what was there to be afraid of? On a rainy day, the body was covered with water and mud, so what difference did it make, whether you wore pants or not? This way it was cooler and more convenient to exert your physical strength. Good guy. This time it was good. A big hammer smashed down, which saved a lot of trouble. After knocking off the outer stones, he took off the cloth ball that was tangled with the pants, and then knocked off the inner stones bit by bit. This was repeated for more than an hour, and a hole as big as a human was knocked out. Of course, the surface of the stone wall and the wooden shelves that had been there for a long time were only 30 centimeters apart, so even the thinnest person couldn't get close to them. Fortunately, these wooden shelves were divided into 5 layers, and the partitions were more than 80 centimeters. All the wine jars and bottles on the wooden shelves were moved away, and then people could crawl in. The first person to crawl in was of course the human Mulebrook. Who knows if there is any danger inside? This place has been closed for hundreds of years. Even if there is no danger, the air is not clean. So Belsina will not be the first to go in. After the human Mulebrook entered and confirmed that it was safe, Belsina entered second. Belsina entered the warehouse, holding a high-power flashlight in his hand, and carefully observed the surrounding situation. In fact, the illumination distance of the flashlight is really limited, and with the obstruction of those bottles and jars, Bell didn't see clearly what the so-called underground wine cellar was like. After entering, I saw clearly that the area of this underground wine cellar was actually not large, no more than 20 meters long, and no more than 15 meters wide. What was very surprising was that there was a stone wall at the other end of the wine cellar, and there was an iron door that was better preserved than the first iron door. At least it didn't rot so much rust. I didn't expect there was another space inside. Could this warehouse be the location of the treasures of the entire temple? It is a precious treasure concentration place. Why are there so many strong iron doors guarding this warehouse? The second space is the wine cellar. So what is the third hidden space at the end? Is it an underground vault? Is it possible? It's very likely. Of course, since the space of the wine cellar is really limited, it is impossible for more people to enter, so all the wine jars and bottles on these wooden shelves can only be moved outside. After all these wooden shelves are removed, there is room for display. Knock off the gap on the third stone wall, and then you can see what secrets are hidden behind the 3 iron doors. Curious, but now there is no time to pay attention to the third iron door. First, move all the wine jars and bottles in the wine cellar out. These wines are at least 300 years old. If one bottle is broken, Belsina's heart is beating. He can't lose it. If he loses it again, Belsina will go crazy. Let's keep them first. After seeing the state of the wine cellar clearly, Belsina quickly organized people, and everyone stood at a distance of half a meter. The way of artificial conveyor belt, hand-to-hand delivery. The wine jars and bottles on the shelf must be passed carefully, and the stickers on them must not be damaged. Otherwise, Belsina will never know the name of these wines and where they come from. because there are wine introductions written in ink on them. Even the master bell singer participated in the delivery. Every time he got a bottle or a jar, he looked at it carefully behind singer's back. The style of the wine bottle is very ordinary. The color is dark green. It is a glass bottle with a square wine introduction label on it. Although I don't know the words on it, there are Indian, Sanskrit and foreign words, but I can tell that it is a bottle of wine by looking at the color of the wine and those large and small wine jars. Belsinger carefully observed them and was surprised to find that the wine introductions on these wine jars were written in Chinese characters, and I saw a few words about the Ming dynasty. Even if you use your butt to think, you can know that this is a fine wine produced in the Ming dynasty. I don't know how it was transported to the temple in this mountain and stored. This is the authentic Chinese wine produced hundreds of years ago, which jar is not precious and unusual, and these wines are very well preserved. Except for the dust on it, there is no damage. The whole jar is sealed. I took a complete wine jar and smelled it. There was no smell of wine around, which means that it was very well sealed. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 294, Finally found the vault. Because it was still drizzling outside, these wine jars and bottles could not be exposed to the rain or they would spoil. So all the wine jars and bottles were stacked in a dry place on the other side of the warehouse, and they were passed from hand to hand for an hour and a half. The number of wine bottles and wine jars passed together exceeded 3,000. Some wine bottles were only the size of a palm and were porcelain bottles, and some wine jars were more than 100 kilograms in capacity, and it was difficult for a big man to hold them. Although he was tired and sweaty, all the wine bottles and wine jars were moved out of the underground wine cellar intact. Although the remaining wooden shelves were very strong, due to their age, it was impossible to tell what kind of wood they were made of on the surface. They were made of red sandalwood. After being in this closed space for hundreds of years, they were probably almost rotten. The reason why they did not collapse was that these woods were really hard. Now there was no time to carefully observe these wooden shelves to see if they were worth preserving. The only thing Belsinger was concerned about now was whether the underground vault was behind the third iron door. Is this the place where the treasures of this Buddhist temple are stored? Everything else is nonsense. Only real money and silver are the benefits that Bell cares about most. Now Belsinger's mind is full of money, gold, silver, and all kinds of jewelry and gems. Only after satisfying his desire for money, Belsinger is concerned about other things. Now he has no time to talk nonsense. Although the wooden shelves are very heavy, but the people Belsinger brought are all strong. Several people worked together to push the wooden shelves back little by little. They vacated a space of more than 2 meters wide and then swung the sledgehammer to smash it. Of course, with the experience of the previous time, the action of breaking the stone wall this time was relatively gentle. According to the texture of the stone, the destruction was carried out. Every time the hammer went down, a piece as big as a fist fell off. The sound of hammers hitting the surface of the stone came from the silent warehouse, and then there was the sound of rain outside. The surface of the stone wall was destroyed bit by bit. After the human flesh Rosebrook carefully smashed the stone wall with a hammer. The scene that appeared was still pitch black. Because everyone had experience, they did not block their master's way this time. Belsinger was the first to take a flashlight to see what was behind the wall. When the flashlight shone on the space behind the wall, Belsinger almost screamed and was so excited that he trembled all over and clenched his teeth. He stood there stiffly, and after a long time, he slowly creaked like a machine and turned his head to look at everyone who was waiting for their answer with wide eyes and curiosity. He said something very calmly, and for a moment, no one reacted. Members of the Singer family, we found it. We found the location of the vault. Ha 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 ha. After hearing this very civilized address, the members of the Singer family did not react. They looked at Bell stupidly and could not figure out what their master meant by this. To be honest, most of the people here are rough, and it would be strange if you speak civilized language to them. But someone understood, and the one who understood was the old butler Jamal, and Brooke, the human flesh Luo. As expected of a senior member of the Singer family, he was knowledgeable. When he understood what his master said, the old housekeeper almost had a heart attack. After all, the human mule Brooke was young and healthy, and could not stand being frightened. After he reacted, he jumped up from the ground with a roar, as if he had won a 5 million lottery ticket, and laughed. He raised his hands, and looked at the Singer family members who still didn't understand, and shouted, "Why don't you idiots understand yet? The master said that the underground vault of this temple ruins has been found. That is to say, we have found the gold. We have found the golden treasure. Can you give us some reaction?" This time everyone heard it clearly, and finally understood what was going on. Everyone began to vent their joy crazily. Can you imagine that this underground wine cellar has been closed for more than hundreds of years? Although the disaster suffered hundreds of years ago has passed, how much dust has been deposited for hundreds of years? And the space is still very closed. The good guy jumped and jumped, shouted, and screamed, making it smoky, and choking Belsinger to cough. He couldn't even speak and kept coughing. Because the dust was so thick, the flashlight couldn't illuminate more than 2 or 3 meters. It took him a long time to get out of the cellar. He ran outside and got wet in the rain. Only then did Belsinger feel his lungs were a little better. He was able to open his eyes and speak. He coughed and cursed. Ahem, these idiots don't know that it's a closed space. They don't know that the dust is everywhere. They are jumping and jumping, like choking me to death. Come out of here, damn. Do you want to die? If you stay in there, I hope you get lung cancer. Come out of here. At this time, there were coughing sounds coming from inside, and the screams of family members who couldn't find a way out. At this time, Bell had to go back to the cellar again, and pull everyone out one by one. Every time he pulled out a person, his image was like a demon crawling out of the ground. The body was sticky with dust. If he didn't open his eyes and show his teeth, he would be a clay statue. Everyone came out, lying on the ground and coughing. It took a long time to recover, and they coughed up a lot of black phlegm before they felt better. At this time, everyone saw how embarrassed each other was, and then they lay on the ground and laughed, and then they started coughing again, violently. Belsinger really had no way to deal with these family members. After finding the underground vault, you don't let your men be happy. But the joy was a little too much, making you like a sandstorm. It would take several hours for the dust to settle down by itself. Only after a few hours can we see how much harvest is hidden in the innermost vault. So Belsinger had to order the servants who had recovered to return to the living area one by one, take a bath to wash off the dust on their bodies, then take a bucket and wash basin, add some clean water, and go into the dusty wine cellar to sprinkle water, to let the dust settle down quickly. At this time, everyone had a lunch that was more than 2 hours late, and then asked all family members to give up their work. Go all out to complete the general attack on the vault. These people are all members of the Singh family, and they are all the sons of the Singh family. They are 100% loyal to the Singh family, and are willing to pay all costs for the revival of the family, even at the cost of their lives. These people are the most loyal members of the character family. Whatever the master tells them to do, they will do it. After all the money has been poured into the underground vault, do they still care about those 10 or 8 gold rings? Do they still care about the gold and silver jewelry taken from the dead? Chapter 295, Heretical Theory. Don't mention using clean water to settle dust. This method is very effective. Make the ground very muddy. It is very slippery to step on, but all the dust in the air has settled down, and will no longer cause any harm to people's lungs. Although the rain has stopped, and the sky is slowly getting dark, Belsinger ordered everyone to prepare for a night battle tonight. Even the chefs have to prepare for supper. No one present is idle. All concentrate their firepower to attack the underground vault hidden in the ruins of this temple. Of course, because of the limited space, so many people cannot be deployed, so Belsinger took a pair of people to enter the underground vault. To move the gold treasure inside, the old butler took a team of people with various wooden boxes of different sizes that had been prepared to ship these gold treasures. First put them in wooden boxes, to prevent some people from spying, and then transport them out of the mountain to the Singer family castle before opening them to see what is inside, before counting the number and making a record. What needs to be done now is to empty this gold treasure as quickly as possible. After everything is ready, Belsina ordered to break through the remaining walls. 20 minutes later, Belsina appeared in the underground vault with flashlights. Everything was red. Why red? Because everything was wrapped in red cloth, and it was unclear what was wrapped inside. But on the ground of the treasury, there were piles of gold coins, and various gold items were piled on one side like garbage. When the flashlight was used, the golden light was very dazzling. This is the real gold treasure. Belsina knew what shock was when he entered it. This is a mountain of gold. Belsina used the flashlight to illuminate the surrounding environment, looked at the dazzling array of gold treasures, and sighed for a while. Then he planned to take people to move these statues wrapped in red cloth out. But he didn't expect to be dumbfounded when he looked back. The people he brought in, including the human flesh Brook, were all kneeling on the ground. They all looked like they were praying, and they felt very scared. This kind of fear was a fear that went deep into the soul. They are different from Belsing. Belsing is a noble. The master is a member of the upper caste, a class blessed by the gods. But they are different. They are lower class people. They believe that they are at the lowest level in this life. It is because they were punished by the gods in their previous life that they were reborn as lower class people. If they do good deeds in this life, they can be reborn as higher class people after death. So these people are really in awe of the gods. According to the summary of professionals, the number of gods in Hinduism has reached 330 million. It can be said that every Hindu believer can believe in a person of his own. The number of gods is more than people. Everything related to gods cannot be destroyed, even the portraits of gods and books of gods. Destroying them is a sin. And the sin is very serious, more serious than killing people. This is why, when you see the alien in the Indian film My God, he will stick the statue of gods on his face. Even if he goes to the temple to take a break, no one dares to hit him, because if you dare to hit the gods on his face, aren't you afraid of being punished by the gods? From this point, everyone can see to what extent Hindus fear God. They fear God to the bone. Belsing is not afraid, but it does not prove that his men are not afraid, so they kneel on the ground and pray, praying for the protection of the gods, praying for their disrespect to God, to be forgiven by God. Then everyone will ask, Buddhism and Hinduism are not two completely different religions. Why do Hindus have such a great sense of awe for Buddhist statues? Although they are two religions, aren't Buddhist statues gods? If they are gods, they have the power of gods. He can bring sins to an ordinary person, making this person full of sins. Even if he is reborn after death, he will not have a good end. How can everyone not be afraid? This makes Singh very headache. Although the area of this underground vault is not large, there are too many things in it. It is full and everywhere, but these people dare not move these statues because of their fear of gods. They can't move them all by themselves, even if they are exhausted. What to do? What to do if these people dare not do it? Don't say Belsing is a crooked person. People have crooked tricks. He beat and kicked the strong men around him so hard that they couldn't stand up, then patted their heads and scolded them. What are you afraid of, you useless people? You are doing good deeds, not committing sins. Do you know that you dug these statues out of the ruins, which is doing good deeds, not destroying the statues and being punished for your sins? Do you know what you are afraid of? Although the master's words were recognized by everyone, these were statues, and they, the inferiors, were not allowed to touch them. The few people who followed Belsina could not enter the Indian temple to worship. They were not qualified. Now they use their dirty hands to touch the statues, and I would not be punished by God. What else could this be if it wasn't committing sins? Although everyone didn't say it clearly, they raised their hands and waved them in front of Belsina. Even if they didn't say it, Belsina knew what they meant. Belsina's eyes turned, pointed at the Buddhist statues wrapped in red cloth, and said with a smile, "Do you know why the Buddha statue is wrapped in red cloth?" Everyone looked at each other and shook their heads. They really didn't know how they knew the importance of red cloth to Buddhism, since they were not Buddhists, because the gods of Indian religions would not be wrapped in red cloth. Even if they were, they would be different gods, because they were not the main gods. Belsina saw everyone's curiosity, and said with a smile, because the statue wrapped in red cloth is equivalent to the statue wearing an invisible armor to protect the statue. It will not be disturbed or invaded by the outside world, and a protective layer will be formed around the god, so you don't have to be afraid. Your dirty hands will suffer retribution if you touch the statue of the god. Everyone saw that it was really the case, but at this time, the human flesh Eleozibrak said tremblingly, Master, I admit that you are right, but there are still some statues that are not wrapped in red cloth. What should we do with those statues? We can't touch them. What to do? You don't dare, but I dare. So Belsina patted the human flesh Eleozibrak's shoulder and said with a smile while encouraging him, no problem, I will wrap the Buddha statues with red cloth, and then you can move them. But be careful, don't let the Buddha statues fall down, and don't blame me for any disrespect. Although everyone was half believing and half doubting the heresy, they had the master's order, so what could they do? People are the most flexible. Although they are very respectful to their master and love Belsina very much, but this is related to their fate in this life and the next, who can be careless. They pushed all the sins on the master, just as the master said, and they were innocent, so they dared to move those Buddhist statues. Chapter 296, Tired but Happy. Belsina was a crooked man with his own tricks. After a long explanation, everyone put down their worries. If there was any sin, their master would bear it, and they had nothing to do with it. Only then did everyone dare to let go and move the Buddha statues wrapped in red cloth. In order to dispel everyone's worries, Belsina first wrapped the Buddha statues with red cloth with the ropes he brought, and wrapped them tightly. Although these red cloths have been in a closed environment for hundreds of years, they are organic matter that will degrade, so these red cloths are very fragile, and will be broken if you don't pay attention. Fortunately, there are only more than 20 real statues of gods. Although they are different in size, they are all wrapped in red cloth. It is still the largest statue that can be done, with a volume of more than 1 meter high, and it is a fat Maitreya Buddha. Although it was impossible to refine gold to the level of 999 gold hundreds of years ago, this Buddha statue is gold. And it is a solid gold Buddha statue, weighing a terrifying ton. Although these men were quite strong, they still needed 6 big men to work together to lift the items out bit by bit with wood and ropes. They also shouted slogans, and each step they took made a deep foot pit on the dusty ground. The small Buddha statues were only as big as a human arm, no more than 20 centimeters high, and even a 4-year-old child could carry them. It took 2 hours to get all the golden Buddha statues out, and it was easy now. Although all the remaining items were engraved with Buddhist patterns and mythological beasts, they were not Buddha statues or god statues, so these people dared to take them and move them. In addition, these items were not big in size, and although there were all kinds of things, they were packed up very quickly. Each item was wrapped with a thick layer of waste newspaper, and then neatly stacked in a box to prevent them from colliding with each other, and then the transportation from inside to outside was completed. Of course, there were more gold treasures inside, and there were some wooden boxes that looked like gold plated, which were full of gold, silver and jewelry. These gold boxes were easy to deal with. They closed the box lids, put them in large wooden boxes, stacked them neatly, and then transported them out. They worked until after 1 AM, and only 2/3 of the entire gold treasure was cleared out, and 1/3 had not been cleared out. But everyone was exhausted and collapsed on the ground. They really couldn't work anymore, so Brother Yalkson ordered them to return to the camp quickly, eat something and fall asleep. At more than 10 o'clock the next morning, everyone got up, filled their stomachs listlessly, and then took the boxes and tools, and entered the underground vault again. Because the weather today is better, it is a sunny day with sufficient light. With the help of dim light, you can see clearly what is in the underground vault, which is much better than a flashlight. 2/3 of the vault has been cleared, and the remaining 1/3 of the things are all against the wall. These things are of different sizes. Among them, a 6-tusked elephant statue half a meter high was found, and some lion statues were also found. The shapes of these mythical beasts are very strange. It is very different from the image of ordinary elephants and lions, but the weight is absolutely amazing, each of which reaches more than 100 kilograms. In addition, there are some strange instruments, which are not small in size, but not in large numbers. There are only a few hundred pieces of large and small items. It took more than 2 hours to sort out all these things. At this time, Belsinger gave an order. Although everyone felt very tired, they must dig 3 feet into the ground to see if there are any hidden compartments under the ground. Look at the walls around. There are treasures hidden in the hidden places, almost destroying the entire stone chamber. After the stone walls more than 1 meter thick were smashed through, the sunlight refracted in, and nothing was found. Only then did this destructive excavation work complete. At this time, Belsinger had time to let his men pack the jars and cans in front of the warehouse. Various kinds of fine wines were packed and prepared for transportation, but after giving the order, the old butler had to say to Belsinger very embarrassedly, "Master, we have used up all the wooden boxes. There is nothing left. If we transport them from outside the mountain, it will definitely waste time. I suggest cutting wood on the spot. Although it takes a lot of effort to do this, it saves a lot of trouble. Besides, all these wines are in jars and cans. Even if they are discovered, it is because I'm lucky to find these precious century-old wines in a ruin. Even if they are robbed, at most I can give some to others, and keep some for myself, unlike those gold treasures that attract attention." So Belsinger adopted the old housekeeper's method, and cut wood on the spot. The boxes for transporting fine wines are different from those for gold treasures. Because these jars and cans are very fragile and afraid of being touched, breaking a bottle is a major loss. Belsinger does not want to bear such a loss, so all the boxes for transporting these fine wines are made into a long box with a length of 2 meters and a width of 50 centimeters. The jars and cans containing those fine wines are neatly stacked inside, and then some hay or dead branches and leaves are found to fill the gaps. They left all these jars and cans without any space to collide with each other, and then they completed the loading work. At this time, the camp was full of boxes of all sizes. The contents of each box were gold, and the weight was quite terrible. It was not a good thing to just put them in an empty camp. If they were robbed, the loss would be great. So Belsinger had to lead people in person, carrying boxes in their hands, lined up in a column, and then chose to go down the mountain. They came to the foot of the mountain, and there was still a distance of several hundred meters from the ranch. When it was dark, they led people down the mountain. Unexpectedly, I met Marbury, who had been back for 2 days, in the general manager's office. Although Marbury had been working outside for more than 20 days, he was in good spirits. He had been training and recruiting 20 sales staff, and had not returned home yet. His dedication made Belsinger admire him. General Manager Marbury was Belsinger's right-hand man, and he was also loyal. With the help of this local snake of the general manager, Belsinger mobilized all the large vehicles in the industrial park, and loaded all the 20 wooden boxes that were moved out on the truck. Then, the human mule Brooke personally escorted the truck to Singer Castle, and handed it over to Lady Lina. Then, all the servants in the house who could move, regardless of age, were called over, and they went up the mountain that night. It was already early in the morning, when several people carried a box down the mountain at the same time. Some early risers had already come to work, so they had to stop and work with their hands. The next day, Marbury personally ordered that the sawmill had stopped working, although everyone could not transport these boxes to the truck and transport them out of the mountain. But the sawmill was still able to move them, and it took a week for the mouse to move, and finally these treasures were transported to Singer Castle. Chapter 297, Inventory of Profits 1. After working day and night, and being afraid for a week, they finally transported all the boxes back to Singer Castle. Belsinger and the old butler were already exhausted. Even a strong player like the human mule Brooke was so tired that his beard was untidy and his eyes were red. He stood there yawning, and looked like he was about to fall asleep. It is conceivable how huge and troublesome the gold treasures were to be transported this time. After going through untold hardships, they finally came back, finally escaped the eyes of those jackals, and finally transported these treasures to the underground vault of the Singer family castle. It's safe, finally safe. Belsinger breathed a sigh of relief, and slept for 2 days, before getting up from the bed. He ate a whole grilled lamb chop, and drank a beer in high spirits, and then he returned to his previous state. He brought the energetic old butler and the human mule Brooke to the underground vault of the Singer family. After turning on the lights, all that came into view were those very simple wooden boxes. Patting these wooden boxes with his hands, Belle's mood was so excited. This is all money. With these things, the character family no longer has to worry about money. He doesn't have to go around to raise funds and find loans, and he won't sell the original shares of the character family's industrial company in exchange for support. With this money, I don't care about anyone. The Bister family will stand aside. I have plenty of money to bribe those greedy officials. The real top political family in India is the Gandhi family, not your Bister family. With this money, I can find the top political family. I'm fully capable of stepping on your Bister family. Let's see how you can threaten me then. Finally, I can be proud of it. Belle Singh's heart is trembling now. After calming down, he turned around and looked at the old butler and the meat mule Brooke with a smile, waved his hand, and said to the two men holding tools, "Gentlemen, what are you waiting for? Today's task is to clean up these gold treasures, count the quantity, and classify and register them. After sorting these out, we will secretly transport these gold treasures out of India and send them to large auction houses such as Christie's and Sotheby's. Auction them all, and then open a few accounts in the tax haven of Switzerland to store all our profits. From now on, our family will never be short of money again. Ha 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 ha. These two people are 100% loyal to the Singh family. They certainly know where the difficulties of the Singh family are. Without any foundation, the whole body is fat meat. Any jackal with ideas can take a bite. With this batch of sufficient financial support, the Singh family will quickly arm themselves and see who dares to take the Pigeon family as fat meat. Just come up and take a few bites and poison them to death." The two rolled up their sleeves and pried open the simple wooden boxes one by one with a crowbar. The first thing to sort out is those very heavy Buddha statues. My goodness, the largest one weighs more than 1 ton. It was not that 3 people could not move it. Fortunately, the box was placed on the ground. After prying it open, Belle Singer personally untied the red cloth wrapped around the Buddha statue, and then used the warm water and detergent that had been prepared to clean the dust on the Buddha statue. The detergent is actually washing. It can clean the dust and debris. If you want to restore the pure gold Buddha statue to the level of golden luster, you must use chemical reagents to do it. But Belle is not a fool. The oxidants on these Buddha statues are all natural evidence of time. If you go to live there, it will be a new golden Buddha statue, which cannot be called an antique. The price you sell it for is not so ideal. This is also why there is a business of making antiques look old. Antiques are antiques. If they are not very old, how can they be called antiques? Therefore, this layer of oxidation layer that makes the Buddha statue dark gold and without the golden effect is the most important, and it must not be damaged at all. Wow, a basin of clean water. A basin of warm water has just been used to clean half of it, and the Buddha statue has turned into the color of oil. You can imagine how dirty it must be. Fortunately, this is his own home. Although ordinary servants are not qualified to enter the underground vault, they can help outside. Brooke, the youngest human mule, took a wooden basin and handed the dirty water to the servant outside, then poured it out and replaced it with a new basin of clean water, and then continued to clean. After cleaning the 1-ton Buddha statue, Belle Singer was personally responsible for registering the height, width and weight of the Buddha statue. All the details and features on it were recorded, and the degree of detail recorded even the slightest flaw of the Buddha statue. Then, the plastic foam specially customized by the plastic factory was glued on little by little, and the Buddha statue was tied up with plastic tape before the cleaning work was completed. The remaining statues were easy to deal with. Because they were small, the electronic scale prepared by Singer could weigh up to 250 kilograms. It can fully meet the needs at this stage. Except for the 1-ton Buddha statue that cannot be weighed, everything else can be met. In just 4 hours in the afternoon, Singer and his 2 assistants cleaned all 25 pure gold Buddha statues. Let's not count the historical value of these pure gold Buddha statues. Let's look at their weight first. There are 25 Buddha statues in total, weighing 3.28 tons of gold. Because these golds are not 999 gold, there is still a long way to go to reach the 999 gold circulation standard of the world. If the impurities are removed, 3 tons of gold can be left. Of course, these Buddha statues are antiques. Unless Bell's character is stupid, he will melt these Buddha statues into gold bars to sell, because each Buddha statue is much more valuable than gold. The weight reaches 3.8 tons, and there are 36,752 pieces of various gems, pearls, and agates on the 25 Buddha statues. These are more than 30,000 pieces of various gems inlaid on the Buddha statues, weighing dozens of kilograms. Of course, these gems can only be inlaid on these Buddha statues. They cannot be removed, otherwise the value of the Buddha statues will plummet, and it will be more than worth the loss. The other 25 Buddha statues are all famous Buddha shapes in Buddhism, including Sakyamuni Buddha, Guanyin, Manjusri, Samantabhadra, Maitreya, and even a few Arhat shapes. It's just that the weight of the golden statue is relatively small. The shape is also very exquisite, which can be said to be lifelike. They hold various kinds of instruments in their hands. But in general, the facial features of these golden Buddha statues are slightly different from those of Chinese Buddha statues. After all, the culture and aesthetics of the two countries are different. The Chinese Buddha statues are kind-hearted, chubby and smiling. At first glance, they are kind-hearted bodhisattvas and bodhisattvas who save people from suffering. However, the facial features of Indian Buddhist Buddha statues are slightly thinner, and not so fat. The lines of the facial features are also slightly rigid. From a distance, it seems that they are awe-inspiring without anger, which makes people feel awe. Chapter 298. Inventory of Profits 2. The 25 Buddha statues sorted out in one afternoon, although the largest weighs more than a ton, and the smallest weighs only a dozen kilograms. Each Buddha statue is very beautiful, reflecting the most brilliant casting level at that time. It can be said that there are no flaws or shortcomings, and even the gems on the Buddha statues are complete. It is perfect. This is a Buddha statue made of pure golden gems, and it is so perfect that it is rare in the world. If it appears at a top auction, it will make those buyers crazy and bid crazily. The higher the price they bid, the greater the profit they will win. Then someone will ask, there are so many pure gold Buddha statues, with such great collection value. Now that we have just passed 2000, can't these Buddha statues be collected in our hands, which is much more cost effective than selling them? Because antiques are the most valuable and the most valuable commodity. Haven't you seen that the price of each of those famous European oil paintings has increased by more than 10% every year, which is much higher than the interest given by the bank and faster than the depreciation of the currency? Collecting a Buddha statue is much better than selling it for $10 million and letting it sit in the bank. So why did Belsina choose to sell all 25 Buddha statues? That's because Belsina had no choice but to sell them, because the Belsina family has been a standard Hindu since its existence. All generations have been standard Hindus. India and Nepal are the birthplaces of Buddhism. Why did Buddhism disappear after thousands of years? Now Buddhists in India only account for 1/10 of the number of Hindus. That's because Buddhism was squeezed out by Hinduism. Although it has not been driven to the point of extermination, Hindus are still not very interested in Buddhism. Although Hindus are more respectful of Buddhist gods, this sentence is right. Hindus are full of awe for anything related to gods. Anything related to gods will not be actively destroyed, but religion is religion after all. If others know that the noble master of the Kshatriya, the top caste of Hindus, actually has a Buddha statue in his home, this is an open blow to his noble status, which will allow the opponents of the Singh family to seize his little handle and attack him in Indian temples. Those Brahmin priests are not easy to mess with. Although they can't degrade themselves to Dalits, they attack themselves all day long and restrict themselves all day long. What good will the Singh family do? As the saying goes, a dog bites a person 3 points deep into the bone. If you are not afraid of thieves stealing, you are afraid of thieves thinking about it. Those Brahmin priests look at the Singh family with tinted glasses every day and call on the surrounding Hindus to monitor themselves at all times. What good will that be? Therefore, these Buddha statues cannot stay in the Singh family and cannot stay with themselves, which will bring endless troubles to themselves. Therefore, these Buddha statues can only choose to sell them, so that these Buddha statues will fall into the hands of real Buddhists and be worshipped by Buddhists. It is also the best place for these Buddha statues. I can also be regarded as doing good deeds, so I can only reluctantly give up and choose to sell these beautifully shaped pure gold Buddha statues with infinite collection value. I don't want to, but I can't help doing this. So after arranging the Buddha statues, Belzinge felt very heavy, and the smile on his face slowly disappeared. They always sighed, but they knew why Singh was unhappy, but they couldn't persuade him. What could they do if even their own master couldn't handle it? In this Indian society, who can compete with those Brahmin priests? Who can compete with India with hundreds of millions of believers? Although he was in a bad mood, he was still very confident about the proceeds of his auction. Seeing that everyone in the family was worried about him, even the servants were cautious in doing things, for fear of angering their master. He was afraid of affecting the mood of his master. He didn't expect that his own loss would reduce the atmosphere of the whole family to such a terrible level. He couldn't be unhappy and make everyone unhappy. So Belsingh's mood improved during dinner. He talked and laughed with the people at home at the table, and even drank 2 teals of Magnate, which made everyone feel relieved. Belsingh got up from the bed at 7 o'clock the next morning. He smiled and covered Lina, who was pregnant and had difficulty moving, with a blanket, and then got up carefully. After cleaning himself, he went to the restaurant to eat. After eating, he took 2 people to the underground vault to start another day of sorting. The content of sorting was very simple, that is, large gold products. In Buddhist temples, not only are there large volume works of art made of pure gold Buddha statues, but there are also some other large volume objects. For example, the weight of some Buddha statues of mythical beasts is not much worse than that of living statues, especially the 6-tusked elephant and the lion, which weighed 250 kilograms. The weight of the 2 mythical beasts added up to 500 kilograms. When they were brought back, they were hurriedly wrapped and packed. It was not until now that we could see clearly that the shapes of these 2 mythical beasts were far different from those of the golden Buddha statues. The shape was very simple. After cleaning it up, the old housekeeper recognized the truth with a keen eye. He stroked the body of the 6-tusked elephant and took a large mirror to look at it carefully. Then this was right. The long-awaited Belksing smiled bitterly and shook his head. Master, I'm sorry to disappoint you. Although these 2 golden artworks in the shape of mythical beasts are not light in weight, they are made of alloys, not pure gold. The real gold content does not exceed 35%, and there are many other metals mixed in them, so the value is not ideal. To be honest, Belsina was quite disappointed. Seeing that the 2 statues in the shape of mythical beasts were not light in weight, but their gold content was not enough to reach 35%. Compared with those Buddhist statues made of pure gold, their value is far, far worse, and they are simply incomparable. This is why these mythical beast statues are so simple, so rough, and even not finely processed. It looks golden, but in fact it does not contain much gold. Belsina was very disappointed, but he was not discouraged and washed his hands in another basin with a smile, and then came to the old butler, lit a cigarette for each of them, and then said with a smile, "If I get it, I'm lucky. If I lose it, I'm doomed." People shouldn't be too greedy, right? Although their gold content is only 35%, it's not bad. Such large gold statues are rare. Seeing his master so free and easy, the old butler smiled and said, "Master, you are right. Those European bidders will definitely flock to it, but master, I have a surprise for you." After careful observation, I finally saw the front paw of this 6-tusked elephant statue. One problem we still don't understand is the time point. Oh, this is incredible. To be honest, Belsina has excavated so many gold artworks, but he has not found a time point to prove the age of these gold artworks. Without an accurate introduction to the age, Belsina still can't figure out whether these gold artworks are thousands of years ago or hundreds of years ago. Unexpectedly, the old butler actually discovered this most important problem. Chapter 299, Inventory of Harvest 3. Belzinge still couldn't figure out when the Buddhist temple that brought him so much harvest fell into ruin. When was it attacked by floods? When was it built? When were these golden artworks cast? He knew nothing about this time. According to the gold coins of the Mughal Empire, it can be indirectly proved that this Buddhist temple fell into ruin after 1600, but it is unknown when this temple was built. It is also unknown when it was attacked by floods. The old housekeeper's discovery really solved the urgent problem, which made Belzinge very excited and asked with a smile, "Tell me quickly, when was this six-tusked elephant gold statue formed? Is it the prosperous era of this Buddhist temple?" The old housekeeper smiled bitterly and shook his head and said, "I'm sorry to disappoint you. This six-tusked elephant statue was cast in 1536, which is 10 years after the establishment of the Mughal Empire." Belzinge couldn't help but sigh. He was very happy and thought he had found the accurate time point evidence, but he didn't expect that it was a golden elephant cast in 1536. What's the use of this? It can only prove that this golden elephant was cast in 1536 and has nothing to do with the time of the rise and fall of Buddhism. If it is really useful to pull it hard, it proves that the construction time of this Buddhist temple was before 1536. That is, it existed before the Mughal dynasty. In any case, he has a time. Although the gold content is only 35%, this elephant was cast before 1536, which is an antique. And it is a gold antique. The total value must be much higher than the weight of the gold of this elephant. At least it can reach a price of more than $1 million. That would be perfect. In addition to these two giant statues weighing 250 kilograms, there are many small statues. The largest of these statues does not exceed 50 kilograms. The smallest is as big as a fist. There are many statues when they are sorted, but these statues are very interesting. Many of them are small Buddha statues. There are also many statues of different people and different animals. They are very exquisite and novel. Although they are small, the eyes of animals and humans are carved very smartly, just like alive. In addition, they are 100% made of pure gold. Although they are not inlaid with various gems, the price of these gold statues is definitely not cheap. There are 360 such small statues in total. If we take the price of $500,000, the price will reach more than $150 million. Of course, the auction will deduct part of the auction fees and pay part of the auction taxes. It is good to get $100 million. Although the idea is good, Belzinger does not intend to do so, because only 10% of these small statues are statues of Buddhist gods. The remaining 90% are all human statues, animal statues, plant statues, and various shapes of instruments. There are no images of gods on these statues, which means that these statues of various shapes do not conflict with the Hindu doctrines at all. You can also collect these statues as strategic reserves, which means that Belzinger can store 320 statues without having to exchange them for money. As strategic reserves, they are stored at home or in the safe of the bank. Although these statues are small in size, they are exquisitely shaped. They are not much worse than those exquisite and luxurious statues, but they are small in size. We can make up for their small size with quantity. So this time, Belzinger sorted out the search information of these small statues by category. 40 statues related to Buddhist gods were sorted out and placed in a medium-sized wooden box for shipment. The remaining 320 statues were registered and placed in 2 other boxes. They were put aside and prepared to be shipped to a bank in Switzerland. They planned to open a safe to store these pure gold statues in it. Belzinger's handling of this batch of statues was very much in line with the old housekeeper's wishes. The old housekeeper always had a smiling face when sorting them out. I sighed in my heart that my master had really grown up and matured. He knew that the cunning rabbit had 3 burrows, that eggs should not be put in one basket, and that he knew to save money. I was so happy that he had grown up. It took a day and a half to sort out all 360 pieces of gold artworks, pack them and box them, and mark the boxes with 2 signs of sale and not for sale. Then it's time to clean up the scattered gold artworks. The types of these scattered gold artworks can be said to be endless. From gold and gem jewelry to various living utensils, there are all kinds of small statues like big dogs, cats and various beasts. There is also a golden Bodhi tree that is no more than 20 centimeters high, but the shape is very exquisite. The leaves on the Bodhi tree are made of pure silver, only 20 centimeters in size, and the branches are also made of gold. Especially the root part of the tree is intertwined, and the base is a small flower pot. Although it is small, it is really exquisite and shining. The Bodhi seeds on the Bodhi tree are all carved from black gems. Although they are only the size of millet grains, they are better in number. You can imagine how luxurious the golden trunk, silver leaves, and black gem fruits are. It's just that in ancient times, only the kings and nobles could enjoy the golden artworks, and were qualified to play with them. I didn't expect it to appear in my home, and in my hands. The beautiful and exquisite shape is incomparable, and can be said to be priceless. After carefully cleaning the 20 centimeter high Bodhi tree with a cotton swab, Belsina placed it in front of him, and admired it for a while. It was so beautiful, shining with gold, that it would be even more beautiful if it was placed in the sun. Belsina couldn't bear to put it down. When he walked out of the underground vault, Belsina personally held the Bodhi tree with golden branches and jade leaves, and placed it on his desk in his study. Belsina wanted to admire this tree from time to time, and placed it on his desk, reflecting his taste. As for whether it was money or not, Belsina had long forgotten it. The next day, when he was sorting it out, he actually found a chessboard for fighting beasts. Fighting beasts chess from hundreds of years ago, people today can't understand how to play. But this chessboard was actually made of gold, and those beast-shaped statues that were less than 10 centimeters high were still a set of fighting beasts chess. Finally, I found a complete set of things, and I carefully cleaned this set. After putting it aside, I didn't expect surprises to appear one after another. After carefully flipping and cleaning, there were more than 100 sets of items that reached a complete set, such as a set of teapots with 4 cups and a tray. For example, a set of square treasure boxes with a length and width of only 10 centimeters. When opened, there are 12 small square brocade boxes inside. This treasure box is a Magnate box, which contains rouge and powder. Of course, it is empty now, but its shape is very beautiful. The buttons on the lid of the box are all in the shape of various beasts. What's more rare is that there are exactly 13 pieces in a set. Chapter 300, You Are Smuggling. Apart from these, the remaining items are mostly jewelry, most of which are made of pure gold. More than 50% of the jewelry is inlaid with various gems, and there are also many gold utensils, some for rituals and some for daily use. Because of his faith, and because he is also a germaphobe, Belsina will not choose to touch things that others have used. If Belsina touches these dead people's things, he will not feel anything. But the people at home will think that their master has touched unclean things, and they must ask the Brahmin priest to perform rituals. Otherwise there will be no peace in the family. In order not to cause trouble for himself and his family, Belsina will not touch these things. But it was Brooke, the human mule, who simply cleaned these things and then packed them in different categories. In fact, sorting these things is a very dirty and tiring job. For a week, except for eating, drinking water, going to the toilet, and sleeping, Belsina spent all his time in the basement. Finally, after a week of dark life, he finished sorting out the abnormally chaotic underground vault. Of course, although Belsina was busy at home, he never gave up the work of the temple ruins. Every 3 days, the human flesh LUOD Brooke would bring people and drive a heavy truck to the logging site to transport back all the precious things excavated from the mountain ruins. Of course, the excavation of the ruins cannot be completed in a short time, and it takes several months. After sorting out the things at home, Belsina sent his most capable subordinate, the human flesh LUOD Brooke, to stay at the Buddhist ruins for a long time, to preside over the excavation work, put the excavated things in different categories, then transport them back, and do a good job of defense. As the saying goes, you are not afraid of thieves stealing, but you are afraid of thieves thinking about it. Who knows where the news leaks and attracts the attention of those desperate criminals. Therefore, the excavation site is under military management, and all within a few kilometers are under surveillance. Digging valuable things, while carrying a gun on your back, to be responsible for vigilance, of course, these are trivial matters, and Belsina does not have to worry about them. Now Belsina is worried about how to secretly transport these precious gold artworks out of India. then transport them to the UK and hand them over to Christie's and Sotheby's auction houses for auction. Now that he could catch up with the end of the spring auction, he could make a lot of money, so Bell Sr. racked his brains and had to ask for help from his most hated and helpless partner, the Bister family. So 3 days after sorting out the things, Bell Sr. brought a golden artwork in the shape of a peacock. The weight exceeded 1.5 kilograms. The most rare thing was that this peacock was a male. The peacock's tail was pasted with some cut gems. The 5-character and 6-character peacock was particularly beautiful and extremely luxurious. The total number of gems of various colors, large and small, exceeded 365. It symbolizes 365 days in a year. God knows why India also believes that there are 365 days in a year. Has the astronomy of ancient India reached the level of being on par with China? This is unknown, but it does not hinder the preciousness of this gem peacock. Golden gems are so valuable that everyone knows the value of this golden peacock. Why did he bring this golden peacock to the town? He came to the office of the chief of police in the town to meet the person he least wanted to see. That is, Axe, the prince of his strategic partner, the Bister family. That was because there was no other way. Only the Bister family had the power to arrange a ship to allow him to secretly take these gold artworks out of the country. Otherwise, the Indian income tax would bankrupt him. Besides, such precious ancient Indian artworks could easily attract the attention of officials. They could detain you for any reason and confiscate your gold artworks of unknown origin. When they enter the pockets of these corrupt officials, you will have no place to complain. Only the Bister family can guarantee your safety. So although Belksina hated it, he had to bite the bullet and come to Axe's office. The two sides were very happy to meet. Axe's director had a much better life recently. After all, it had been almost 2 months since the flood. Even if the Indian government was inefficient, it was afraid of causing unrest among farmers, so the disaster relief mission was successfully launched half a month ago. Finally, the emotions of the residents of Sinja town were calmed down, and the crime rate plummeted. He was also very stable as the police chief, and his life was pretty good. After all, there are so many relief supplies that can be used for kickbacks, which more or less fills their own pockets. As the saying goes, what goes up means what goes down. When the relief supplies approved by Congress are transported to Sinja town, 30% can be left when they are handed over to the victims. Even if God opens his eyes, although India has been independent for a long time, the people have become accustomed to it and endure the behavior of bureaucrats who talk big but do nothing. When encountering any major disasters, they all try to save themselves instead of waiting for government rescue. Those who wait for government rescue have already starved to death. Those who have not starved to death have lost hope in the government, but the submissive character formed over thousands of years has helped the Indian government a lot, and there have been no large-scale civil unrest and riots in recent years. The two sides hugged each other, and Axe smiled and asked Belsing to sit on his sofa, and asked his secretary to bring black tea, and the two sat down and chatted for a while. At this time, Belsina clapped his hands and asked Almasha, who was following him, to put the rectangular cardboard box in his arms on the coffee table, and then asked Almasha to leave. There was no one in the office, and the two of them didn't need to be polite. Belsina unpacked the box, and a golden gem peacock appeared in front of Axe. After all, Axe is the office of the director of the police station. It faces the sun and there is plenty of sunshine. The sun shines on the peacock made of pure gold, shining brightly, especially the colorful gems on the peacock's tail, which are particularly dreamy. Even though he is the eldest son of the Bister family, he has never seen anything like it, but this golden peacock really caught Axe off guard. He was stunned for a moment. After reacting, he put his hands on the big stone, made of gold on the peacock's feet, and turned it back and forth, so that the peacock changed various postures in front of him. Observe carefully, and say with praise while observing. What a good thing. Where did you get this good thing from, Singh? It's so beautiful, so priceless. Even in the underground vault of the Bister family, there will not be more than 4 things of the same value as this golden peacock. It is so beautiful that it is rare to see in 100 years. Isn't this nonsense? How can this top-notch thing that I picked out from thousands of gold artworks not be precious? How can it not be beautiful? How can it not be beautiful? If I didn't want to use the power of your Bister family to smuggle these gold artworks out, would I have given you such a big gift? This is why the situation is stronger than people, and I'm not as rich as others. People have to bow their heads under the eaves. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.